Stephanie's there?
Stephanie is not on yet. I do not have access right now to connect to YouTube, but we'll be able to upload it tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good. Are we recording?
We are recording.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Virginia Harger, Chairperson of the Shelton Planning and Zoning Commission. Today is Wednesday, December 13th, 2023, and the special meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission being conducted via Zoom and through a phone link is hereby called to order at 6:05 p.m. This meeting may also be viewed live and remotely on YouTube, but according to Ms. Castro, who is our Zoom host, right now we don't have accessibility to YouTube, but it will be uploaded at some point. Is that correct, Ms. Castro?
Yes.
Okay. All right, would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. I'll start with a roll call of the commission. Please verbally indicate you're present when your name is called. Commissioner Kelly?
Present.
Commissioner Motto?
Here.
Commissioner Tiki?
Present.
Commissioner Parkins?
Present.
Commissioner Lascos?
Present.
Alternate Commissioner Cristiano?
Present.
Alternate Commissioner McGee?
Present.
Okay, myself, Commissioner Harger. Ms. Castro, our P&Z Assistant Administrator.
Present.
Ms. Bernassos, our Recording Secretary.
Present.
Ms. Charbonneau, our Stenographer.
Not on yet.
Okay, just give us a heads up when she is admitted.
Okay.
For the record, Mr. Anthony Panico, our consultant, is not available for this evening's meeting. And I'd like to welcome alternate commissioners Cristiano and McGee to your first meeting of the commission. You will not be seated, either of you will not be seated this evening, as our 6 regular members are in attendance. A couple points before continuing with this evening's agenda. Ms. Castro will act as the Zoom meeting host. Commissioners will be able to make comments throughout the meeting, and the chair asks that you please identify yourself and wait to be recognized to make sure that we are not all speaking over each other and to make sure our recording secretary is clear as to who is speaking. The first agenda item is the commission's organizational meeting and election of officers. First officer position is chairperson. Is there a nomination for chairperson?
I nominate Jenny Harger for chairperson.
Okay,
Commissioner Kelly.
Commissioner Kelly has nominated Commissioner Harger for chairperson. Is there any other nominations?
Well, I'd like to second that nomination. This is Commissioner Lascos.
Thank you, Commissioner Lascos, for the second. Are there any other nominations? Hearing no other nominations, the chair declares that the nominations are closed, and we will do a roll call on the motion made by Commissioner Kelly, seconded by Commissioner Lascos. Commissioner Parkins?
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Lascos?
Aye.
Commissioner Motto?
Aye.
Commissioner Tiki?
Aye.
And Commissioner Harger votes aye. Motion is passed 6-0. Now we'll do a roll call vote on the election of Commissioner Harger as chairperson. Commissioner Parkins?
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Lascos?
Aye.
Commissioner Motto?
Aye.
Commissioner Tiki?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Motion is passed 6-0. The next office is vice chairman. Is there a nomination for a vice chairperson?
This is Commissioner Lascos. I'd like to nominate Commissioner Kelly.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Lascos. Is there a second on that nomination?
Commissioner Parkins will second that nomination.
Okay, so on the motion made by Commissioner Lascos to nominate Commissioner Kelly for vice chair, seconded by Commissioner Parkins, I'll do a roll call vote on the motion. Commissioner Lascos?
Aye.
Commissioner Motto?
Aye.
Commissioner Tiki?
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins?
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Motion is passed 6-0, and this is now a vote, roll call vote on the election of Commissioner Kelly as vice chair. Commissioner Motto,
Aye.
Commissioner Tiki,
Aye.
Commissioner Laskos,
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Motion is passed 6-0. Congratulations to Commissioner Kelly. The next is office of secretary. Is there a nomination for secretary?
This is Commissioner Parkins. I would like to nominate Elaine Motto as our secretary.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Parkins. Is there a second on this particular?
This is
motion?
Commissioner Kelly. I would like to second that.
Okay, so Commissioner Kelly has seconded. So any other nominations? Hearing no other nominations, the chair declares the nominations closed. I'll do a roll call on the motion. Commissioner Laskos,
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Tiki,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Motto,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Motion has passed 6-0. Now, this is a roll call vote on the election of Commissioner Motto as secretary. Commissioner Tiki,
Aye.
Commissioner Laskos,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Motto,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Motion is passed 6-0. Congratulations, Commissioner Motto.
Thank you.
Next on the
Wow.
agenda are the subcommittee assignments, and for the record, the chair is appointing Commissioners Motto, Parkins, and Kelly to the zoning subcommittee, with Commissioner Motto as subcommittee chair. I'm also appointing Commissioners Laskos, Tiki, and myself to the downtown subcommittee, with Commissioner Laskos as chair. Except for our two new alternates, the membership of this commission has not changed since November 2021. And I thank our regular commissioners for their dedication. Even though we are not from the same party, we have always worked well together, and I feel confident that we will continue to make prudent, thoughtful, and appropriate decisions on behalf of the city of Shelton, its residents, and its business community. As the commission's representatives to the Naugatuck Valley Chamber Council of Governments Regional Planning Commission, I can confirm from several meetings I have attended these last several years that our commission continues to be the busiest of the 19 communities that comprise NVCOG, and I don't expect the volume of our work to lessen. So that's all I have to say for chair comments. So we'll move on to new business. And the first agenda item is application 2328, Dominic Thomas for 118 Armstrong Road, LLC. Assessors map 19, lot 10 on 2.10 acres for a planned development district to include 41 residential condo units with on-site parking. Is there a motion to accept for review and to set a public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
Commissioner Kelly.
thank you. Is there a second?
Commissioner Tiki will second.
Thank you. So on the motion to accept application 2328 and for staff to accept, set a public hearing, that was made by Commissioner Kelly, seconded by Commissioner Tiki. I'll do a roll call. Commissioner Motto,
Aye.
Commissioner Laskos,
Aye.
Commissioner Tiki,
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Public hearing for this application will be on the agenda of an upcoming meeting. The next new business item is application 2330, Dominic Thomas for Fountain Square LLC and FS Shelton LLC at 795 Bridgeport Avenue, also known as 801 Bridgeport Avenue, Assessors Map 28, Lot 18, PDD number 91 for a re-subdivision of Lot 6 into 3 separate lots. Is there a motion to accept for review and to set a public hearing?
Commissioner Tiki will motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Tiki. Is there a second?
Commissioner Kelly will second.
Thank you. So on the motion by Commissioner Tiki to accept application 2330 for review and for staff to set a public hearing, seconded by Commissioner Kelly. I'll do a roll call. Commissioner Motto,
Aye.
Commissioner Laskos,
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Tiki,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Motion is passed by a vote 6-0, and The public hearing for this application will be on the agenda of an upcoming meeting. On the agenda this evening are the continuation of 2 public hearings and the initiation of 3 others, and this is the protocol we will be following for each. Ms. Castro will indicate if any written comments were received from members of the public no later than 24 hours before the start of this evening's meeting to be read into the record. Commission can ask questions during the applicant's comments or at the conclusion of the comments, and the applicant and or associates can answer the commission's questions at the time they're presented or at the conclusion of the comments. After the applicant's presentation is concluded, the chair will recognize those members of the public who have indicated they wish to address the commission on any new material since the last time the application was on the agenda. After the last person from the public has been given the opportunity to speak, the applicant's attorney and or associates will be given the opportunity to address any comments or questions from the public. If the commission feels further information is needed from the applicant, the chair will ask for a motion to continue the public hearing. The public hearing remains open. The commission is not allowed to make any public comment, discuss any part of the applicant's and or his associate's presentation, or receive any additional information from anyone. If the commission feels the applicant and or his associates have answered all questions and have addressed all concerns from the commission and or public, the chair will ask for a motion to close the public hearing. The commission can choose to discuss the application immediately following the close of the public hearing or at an upcoming commission meeting. In either case, the commission will be asked by the chair on how it wants to proceed. If there are members of the public who do choose to speak at the point in the public hearing when the chair calls for public comment, the public is asked to note the following. The speaker order is as follows. Elected officials of the city of Shelton participating via Zoom and phone, followed by members of the public participating via Zoom and phone. Speakers will be allowed 5 minutes to present their comments. Those participating via Zoom will need to use Zoom's raise your hand feature, and those participating via phone will need to dial *9 to be identified when asked by the chair. After you are identified by the Zoom host, please state and spell your name and your address to assist the recording secretary and stenographer when the minutes and transcript of the public hearing are being prepared. Please direct your comments and questions to the commission only, not to the applicant and or his associates. If the public hearing is a continuation, comments from the public should address only new material that was submitted since the last time the application was on the agenda. The comments should address specific criteria of the zoning regulations, the merits of the application, and be new information, not a repeat of comments previously presented. Members of the public are expected to practice appropriate etiquette by being quiet, observant, and respectful. Disruptive attendees may be removed from verbally participating. Our first public hearing is the continuation of the public hearing for application 2226. Agam Ismaili and Shizbaza Ismaili, 2 Mohawk Drive. Assessors map 12, lot 4 on 0.76 acres for a planned development district to include 40 apartments with on-site parking under Connecticut General Statute 8-30G. Since this has been a number of months since this was on the agenda, I thought it would benefit all of us for a summary of what has happened since. First application in 2226 was accepted for review on November 9th of 2022. Material posted to the city's website are a petition for a zone change, statement of uses and standards, revised site plans, revised architectural and floor plans, a GIS map, a property survey, 2 Superior Court cases appealing decisions of local planning and zoning commissions, an engineering design report, traffic impact study, crash history, and parking assessment letters, letters from the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection and the Fire Marshal, public radio transcripts, parking statistics from Home Connecticut, rent calculations, a petition from residents of the neighborhood, and emails from Shelton residents. The most recent document is a peer review status report that was posted on November 28th. Public hearing for this application opened on February 22nd, during which time we heard from the applicant's attorney, architect, civil engineer, traffic engineer, and 27 members of the public present in the auditorium at City Hall. The public hearing was continued until March 29th, 2023, when we heard additional comments from the applicant's attorney, architect, civil engineer, traffic engineer, and 4 members of the public. At that same meeting, at the suggestion of the chair, the commission authorized staff to retain the services of a qualified and appropriate expert for a peer review with the cost to be paid for by the applicant. Public hearing was continued until the experts hired for the peer review had some information for the commission, and a status report has been received from M&J Engineering. Ms. Castro, Mr. Rossetti isn't with us yet, right?
Correct.
Okay, so, if you can put up on the screen, Ms. Castro, that, peer review. And I will read it in Mr. Rossetti's absence.
Just a quick question. Is there anyone else that I should add in?
Yes, Attorney Dominic Thomas representing the applicant should add in Manny Silva and John Geddes.
Mhm. Okay, so, here is the letter. Okay, you could stop scrolling for now, Ms. Rossetti, but it was, you have to bump it down a little bit. The other way. Okay, so this was addressed, dated November 27th, addressed to, Mr. Rossetti regarding 2 Mohawk Drive peer review status report. And it reads, on September 28th, meeting was held to discuss various issues concerning the 2 Mohawk Drive project. It was determined that there were 3 issues that required additional information. They are traffic impacts to the Long Hill Avenue intersection with River Road, possible methane gas from the Shelton landfill with respect to blasting, and the number of proposed parking spaces shown on the plans. You can move it up, Ms. Castro. Okay, it goes on to say traffic impacts to the intersection on Long Hill Avenue and River Road, Route 110 category. Attempts to reach the district engineer's office concerning the intersection of Long Hill Avenue and River Road have been unsuccessful. The 2003 traffic report prepared by SLR International Corporation on behalf of this development stated the intersection likely warrants a traffic signal, as the intersection currently meets the minimum requirements of signal warrant 2, meaning 4-hour vehicle volume, and signal warrant 3, meaning peak hour minor street traffic, suffers undue delay for a minimum of 1 hour on an average day. Given the fact that the proposed development will have an indirect impact on the intersection, and the proposed traffic generated by the residential development will not change the current level of service for the intersection, the city of Shelton should pursue the installation of a traffic signal with CONDOT as recommended by SLR in their report. Could you slide it up again, Ms. Castro? Next category, not too much. Okay, methane gas hazard due to proximity with the Shelton landfill. Regarding the landfill and possible complications from methane, Tim Myjack, LEP, contacted DEEP for information about past events and possible issues during construction blasting. Historically, there have been problems with methane generated by the closed landfill, most notably during highway construction in the 1990s, requiring the evacuation of the area. DEEP currently manages the landfill, but methane may still be of concern. Shelton Planning and Zoning Commission was notified by a letter dated March 14th, 2023, from Jennifer L. Perry, PE, Chief DEEP, of these concerns, with some evaluation of the environmental setting and surrounding land use in the planning process is likely necessary. During the last survey, the blasting firm must be made aware of the possibility of underground methane in the area. Their plan should address any additional mitigation measures that may be required. Methane intrusion due to fractures caused by the blasting may not appear immediately. For this reason, the city of Shelton should consider ways to make the developer financially responsible for possible damage for a reasonable period of time. Copy of the DEEP letter to the Planning and Zoning Commission is attached. And this last category is proposed resident parking. Town officials were to meet with the developer's team to introduce the idea of scaling back the number of proposed units in order to provide adequate minimum parking on site. The status of this meeting is unknown at this time. And scroll up again, and that is from Colin Kelly, PE, Senior Project Engineer, M&J Engineering, out of North Haven, Connecticut. Attorney Thomas, let me then recognize you, and are there any comments that the applicant would like to make regarding this peer review status report?
Certainly, Attorney Dominic Thomas, 350 Main Street, Derby, Connecticut, representing the applicant. This was on the agenda 9 months ago when this was ordered. The first report that I was given from the engineering firm, I'm going to be very frank and upfront with you. It didn't look like they had even read the plans carefully. However, what they've come up with is a peer review report that basically says there is no issues with respect to health, safety, and welfare with respect to this proposal. By the way, there should be a correction. The SLR traffic report was 2023, not 2003. I don't want anybody saying it's a 20-year-old report. It was in 2023.
Okay,
And they have agreed with it. And as I said, it has indirect impacts, will not change the level of service. The methane problem was 30 years ago. There's been blasting since. There's been no issues. You heard testimony that there's been blasting since. And but the big issue is there is no evidence that we will need blasting. What the evidence was, there might be some small trench blasting, and a lot of it can be done. And as stated in the peer review report, and as we said, it would be coordinated with DEEP. But at the present time, we have no evidence that there will be any blasting. And finally, with respect to the final comment about having a conversation about changing the reducing the number of units, we provided a parking analysis that says that our parking at 1.5 is more than sufficient. We provided evidence. Their last sentence isn't any evidence against it. It just says, hey, we thought there was going to be some discussion on reducing it. The only thing I will say to you on that is throughout this entire 9-month hiatus, I have expressed to your staff that certainly I'm willing to discuss anything if they want to have any discussions. They want to go back to a pre-existing pre-filing plan that had a reduced number of units and not an 8-30G. I'm willing to talk about it. But the bottom line is, at this point, and based on the peer review, obviously, under the law, there's nothing of a public health, safety, and welfare that would allow the commission to deny this 8-30G application. I do have, again, if there are any questions, we made the presentation back in March of the revised plans, that we addressed all the concerns at that point. There was questioning at that point. So based on the peer review, there's really nothing to be done to our plans.
okay, Attorney Thomas, you're just talking about blasting has occurred since. What locations are you referring to?
There was testimony, and I think even one of the Ishmaelis talked that there was blasting in the area of, what's the name of the restaurant, Casanova? And there's been blasting with respect to other developments. I know for a fact there was blasting with respect to the area right down the road where the auto body shop was, because I was involved with a neighboring I represented a neighboring property owner with a boundary line issue.
Are you talking about JMB Auto Body?
Pardon me?
JMB,
I
Mr.
really
Monaco's
don't know.
auto-
Yeah, it's right down the road. But the bottom line is, even if there wasn't, that report doesn't say anything that there's any danger. What it says is we should consult with DEEP, number one. Number two, as we testified, and nobody contradicted this, there is no guarantee there will be any blasting. And if there is, it would be extremely minimal. And the fact is, the incident that they're referring to that they apparently did some research, was 30 years ago during road construction. So there is no issue with blasting. There's nothing in the report whatsoever that sustains any public health, safety, and welfare. And blasting, to say blasting is required, and we are required to come in with final site development plans, but there's nothing to indicate that there would even be blasting. Just a typical situation in a 8-30G application where everything in the kitchen sink is thrown out. In this case, the kitchen sink fell. It's really nothing.
Attorney Thomas, what's your definition of trench blasting?
Trench blasting would be a situation where you use small charges to blast a trench to put in a utility line or something of that nature. There's also the possibility of some trench blasting, that's usually referred to when you're doing utility lines. There could be some the other option, of course, and what many of these, a developer would certainly do, is to use hammers to hammer it out. I will tell you, and I'll be right up front with you, that if there is any, and there may not be any blasting or any requirement of hammers, but if there is hammering, I can pretty much guarantee you, you're going to get complaints from the neighbors about the hammering, much less complaint than you get if you had an issue of small charges with trench blasting. Again, there is no evidence, none, that there is any danger even from blasting. The incident that occurred was 30 years ago. So it doesn't rise to the level, there's no evidence, no substantial evidence of any public health, safety, and welfare.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, I just wanted to note that Ms. Charbonneau joined at 6:23.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any commissioners have any questions for Attorney Thomas?
Yeah, Commissioner Kelly, seeing the landfill is across the street from Casanova and the project behind it. The landfill has vent pipes. Has anyone measured to see if there is methane coming out of those vent pipes?
The state does.
Have they measured it? Or have,
I have no idea if they measure it, but after the initial letter, when I spoke to the state person, he said that they monitor it. They monitor everything about it. And it is well within whatever standards they have set up.
all right,
on
well,
our job.
one other thing too, it says here in the letter from Colleen Kelly is that, and I don't know if the applicant would want to do this, it says that the city of Shelton should consider ways to make the developer financially responsible for possible damage for a reasonable period of time. Are they willing to do this or what?
Well, you'd have to put some, you'd have to put some meat on the bones of that. Of course, if there is any blasting, then the blaster and the developer would be responsible for any damages.
All right, they
So
also.
I have no idea what is meant by that phrase, for a reasonable period of time or anything of that nature. But when the time comes, and if there's no blasting, there's no issue. But if there is to be some small blasting, it has to be done appropriately with your fire marshal and coordinated it. And certainly within the requirements of providing insurance, it would be done. But going beyond what is normal, there has to be substantial evidence to support it. But, my client would be willing certainly to have that discussion with the individuals from DEEP or anybody.
All right, and also they mentioned a light at the intersection. We all know that that's state property, at the light at the intersection. Is there a possibility for a light there, or is that?
Well, to refresh you, I think if you read the traffic report and Dave Sullivan's presentation, he said without our development, right now, there's enough warrants for a light there.
Mhm.
And so it's really not, and as the peer review said, we have an indirect impact, and we're not and the impact is not gonna change the LOS, level of service, okay?
The
So,
impact of what?
Dave Sullivan said the same thing, that it's up to the city to go to the state. And with this already requiring warrants and being on a state road, for the state to put this on their list. As I think some of you commissioners asked Dave Sullivan about the time frame, and he told you realistically, when it gets on that list, the state doesn't move with the speed of a thoroughbred, more
Well, that's
likely.
true.
the spe-
That's true. That's what I'm getting at. And
Yeah,
also
right.
with this project, wouldn't that make this more critical than what it is without this project for light?
No, in fact, the peer review says exactly that it does not. It's, we have an indirect impact and we're not
I'm
changing.
sorry,
the
I
level of
just
service.
I can't believe with 40 units, 40 additional cars, maybe not going at the same time, but you may have 2 people in a unit. There has to be at least 40 more cars coming and going at premium times.
All I can tell you is your own peer review basically agreed with our peer review. So there's nothing. It's not, that's why there's been.
Well, it doesn't,
case
it
law.
doesn't. I mean, you know,
Yeah, that's why there's case law that says that commissions are, when there's traffic engineers, commissions, it's nice to rely on your own thinking, but you have to rely on the traffic engineer. In this case, you did a peer review. In this case, the peer review agreed with our traffic report.
mhm,
Mhm.
okay. That's all I have.
Okay, any other commissioners have any questions?
Attorney Thomas, did you mention something about there had been a previous discussion about a project that was not an 830G on this site? I'm not aware of that.
No,
I am often reluctant sometimes to go into, there was a work session at some point, and there were discussions about it, and I mentioned to your planning and zoning administrator that certainly my clients would be willing to open discussions with respect to it. The reason the 8-30G was filed is when we came back with the revised plan, the approach was negative, and the clients made the choice, as a client has the right to do, that rather than go through one process and then have to do an 8-30G afterwards, that they would just commence an 8-30G. Without in any way thinking you would have this enormous 9-month break in which you got the whatever page and a half, 4-paragraph peer review. But I mean, yes, we had those discussions. The
Was that,
response
was it for the similar density, same density? Was that what was originally?
within the framework of the 8-30G, I am kind of reluctant to discuss alternatives, just other than to say, I have approached your staff to indicate that the clients would be willing to engage in further conversation.
I personally
Were the
think it's
commission to
irrelevant,
a-
and I don't think Attorney Thomas should have
Right.
even mentioned it at the beginning. So I
Okay,
think we should just drop it. It was not the
Okay.
application that was filed, and that's the application that's up for discussion right now.
right.
Okay.
And I didn't mean that as any disrespect to Commissioner Motto.
No, I didn't take it that way, Ruth. That's fine. Good point.
Other commissioners
The
have any
the
comments?
reason, just to clarify, the reason I brought it up is the last sentence in your peer review, which opened the door. But you're right, Commissioner Parkins, there's no point in discussing it any further.
Other commissioners have any comments?
This is Commissioner Laskos. We had heard her testimony and questioning about fire access, fire engines being able to get to the backside of that building. I see it's not even addressed in the peer review. Is this going to be addressed by Attorney Thomas or his client?
It was addressed, there may have been comments from the people in the public. There was no comments from the fire marshal or anything. The fact of the matter is this is a fully sprinklered building, and emergency vehicles such as ambulances and everything have full access. There's no need to have, there's plenty of buildings where your fire truck can't get to the back, but when they're sprinklered, there's no issues with that. And there was no expert testimony or anything from fire department or fire marshal that was an issue.
Mhm.
We do have to comply fully with code, with respect to the sprinkler system.
This is Commissioner Kelly again. Can I ask a question about the parking?
Sure.
You have the restaurant down below. And also there's an upper room in the back. I guess it's for private parties, so on and so forth, where there are cars or even the overflow of the restaurant down below park up on top. Now, according to the drawings, that area is going to be for the residents of the new project. So,
Correct.
well, how is that going to be residents parking for the residents of the new property for the new project, plus parking for the restaurant and the private party annex up on top? How is that going to happen to be both?
Well, there's not going to be both. The restaurant won't be able to park up here. I mean, it's the
Well,
restaurant.
it's going to be open to them. I mean, you're going to have a driveway going up.
What?
Am I right?
No.
Why
There's
not?
no driveway going up from the
Sure
restaurant
there
into
is.
the.
There's an area you can
Or
drive
parking
up
lot.
on the side of the restaurant and go up to the top
On the left side,
on the left side. Right, exactly.
and the entrance to the upper banquet room.
No access is allowed up to that. The bottom, and Manny's, hopefully Manny Silva's on. I'm not familiar with what you're talking about. You're talking about on the south side to where the plateau is? Here?
Manny Silva from Roast Teasel Company
Okay,
representing the
I see
applicant.
what you're saying. Never mind. There is
Yeah, there's a separate parking area behind the restaurant
behind
that
the restaurant. Okay,
that has
that's
nothing. That's
part
not
of it.
on. That's not part of this. No,
Okay, man. Thank you.
no problem.
Okay, anything else, Commissioner Kelly?
No, that's it.
Okay, Commissioner Parkins, did you have anything?
I do not.
Okay, Commissioner Ticky?
Not
No.
at this time where it's already been covered.
Okay, thank you.
Quick rundown of the number of units, bedrooms in these 40 units. Are they one bedrooms, studios? I don't recall.
40 units. I can, I know Mr. Geddes, he may be on. I can bring up the architectural plans unless Mr. Geddes can just give the numbers. If he's
No, it's
on.
right on the plans. Well, I
Yeah.
can read them off if you want.
Yeah.
Okay,
It is 4 one-bedroom units. I believe it's 8 or 6. It's small writing. 2-bedroom units. And then, type of apartments. Okay, total 13 one-bedroom, 27 2, and that would make the 40.
Mhm.
Thank you.
4 floors, 1,000 feet high. You know.
Okay. All right, if there isn't, do you have anybody from the applicant, Attorney Thomas, need to have any comments?
No,
Oh, it's a public
we
portion.
just, again, Manny and John Geddes were here to respond to questions. We made our full presentation at the March hearing with the revised plans.
Okay. All right, if there are any other comments from the commission, then we'll move to the public portion and we'll start out with elected officials of the city of Shelton participating remotely who would like to comment on this application. Just a reminder, comments are limited to the material submitted since the last time this application was on the agenda, which is March 29th. If you are an elected official who would like to comment, Please use Zoom's raise your hand or feature or dial *9 on your phone to be identified.
I do not have elected officials.
Okay, so we will move on to hearing from members of the public participating remotely. If you are like to comment, please use Zoom's raise your hand feature or dial *9 on your phone. Please remember, comments are limited to the information submitted since the last time the application was on an agenda. Okay, Ms. Castro, do you have a person here?
Yes, so I'm going in order of the hand raising. The first guest I'm adding in is listed as L. Romao. They'll be joining shortly.
Okay, when the person does, please state your full name and your address. please.
My name's Lisa Romeo. I live in 3 Manhasset Trail in
Okay,
Chilton.
what's your first name again, ma'am?
Lisa?
Lisa, okay.
Mhm.
And I see on the screen it's ROMAO.
Yep.
Okay, and that address again was?
3 Manhasset.
Okay. All right, go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
So if you're reducing the number of units to 40, the number of parking spaces is also 40? Or how many parking spaces are you allotting for?
Lisa, we state all your questions. We don't have a give and take back and forth.
Okay.
'Cause that can lead a lot
That's
of
the
confusion.
question, is how
Okay.
many parking spaces? Because if you have a mixture, like some of those, it sounded like there were two bedrooms, so that's like a minimum of 2 cars. I just want to make sure that there's enough parking, because we have parking overflow from the park and on the streets as it is. So
Mhm,
that's my concern, is it's difficult to walk. We don't have sidewalks,
mhm.
and taking children to the park.
Okay. Okay. Oh, so you're saying that, is this correct?
just-
that, people who don't live within walking distance of the park drive their cars down there?
There are some people and there are people who drive to the watering hole up the street, who park along the park and are along it's just, we have a lot of congestion. So I'm just trying to understand
Mhm,
where the overflow for these units will be,
mhm.
and
Okay.
if we've accounted for enough parking, because most people have
Mhm,
more than one car.
right.
Even
Okay.
if you're one person, you could have 2 cars because you have a recreational vehicle.
Mhm. All right. Okay, that's your
That's
your
my question.
Okay, very
Mhm.
good. Okay, what happens is that the applicant hears all the questions and comments, and at the end, they are given the opportunity to respond to those. Okay, so
Okay, thank you.
you're very welcome. Who's next, Ms. Castro?
Give me 1 second. Next will be Mr. Tom Harbinson.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Harbinson, you have the floor.
He's loading.
Oh, you mean they're in the waiting room?
Yes.
Okay, I got it.
He's in, just unmute, there we go.
Apologies.
Okay.
Good evening, Thomas Harbinson, 15 Stonecrest Drive. My question regarding the peer review is in regard to the impact that they're reviewing. Reading from their paragraph from their letter of November 27th, it says, given the fact that the proposed development will have an indirect impact on the intersection and the proposed traffic generated by the residential development, it will not change the current level of service for the intersection, and the city of Shelton should pursue the installation of a traffic signal with the Connecticut DOT, as recommended by the SLR report. And when I read the SLR report of February 17th, 2023 on page 5, table 3, it levels the level of service as being F for the River Road intersection, both on weekday mornings and weekday afternoon peaks. So since the level of service is F already prior to the development, Certainly, this is not going to change it because F is the absolute worst you can have as a level of service. So I think the level of service is needs to be corrected, and that's through a traffic signalization according to the SLR report. And if that's waiting for the state to get their act together on putting it on a list through a city request, or having the developer do it as part of their application approval, I would suggest that the latter is the most expedient way to get that corrected for the citizens. Secondly, since it was not really added, I'm not sure if it was added since the last meeting, but it was mentioned by Commissioner Laskos regarding the fire marshal report, and the response from Attorney Thomas, I think, needs just a little clarification for me to understand. The letter from the fire marshal on March 29th of 2023 in bold letters says, a review of the site plan shows a lack of access to the rear of the building by fire apparatus or other emergency vehicles. The only access appears to be by driving under the building, which does not provide the proper height, distance, clearance for apparatus to proceed. And that entire paragraph is in bold. And at the end of the letter, it says, with the aforementioned under item 1 above, the site plan submitted is not approved by the fire marshal's office. I don't know if there's been any update or added material to that, or a redesign to the application to correct that situation. But as I read that letter, the fire marshal, for reasons of health and safety and welfare, has suggested it be denied. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hermanson. Who's next, Ms. Castro?
Next guest will be David. He is being promoted currently.
No last name?
No.
Okay.
Jen, can you hear me? This is Dave Eldridge.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, David.
Dave Eldridge, 17 Seneca Road, right here in town, right around the corner from this project. What I want to comment on, the Attorney Thomas mentioned that one report that said the traffic at Long Hill and River Road, this project won't interfere any further, but it does. What he leaves out is the intersection between Mohawk and Long Hill Avenue, where only 2 cars could fit between Mohawk and Long Hill Avenue, where the stop sign is. So not only do you have a sight line from your left pulling out from Mohawk to your left going back south on Long Hill Avenue, but it causes there's a serious sight line there to the left, and then you could only fit 2 to 3 cars to that stop sign. And so it increases the congestion in that intersection, making it more difficult. Already now it's difficult getting out of Mohawk, going on to Long Hill Avenue. And this project is only going to increase the hazards. Not only, it also increases the hazards for the park right across the street. And as the one caller mentioned, there is already no parking all along Mohawk. There is no parking. It's already well posted, no parking. And so when this project is brought all the way out to its extremes, to the width of Mohawk itself, right now the cars from the houses that reside there park on the dirt. But when this project is brought all the way out to its full term, they're going to need it already shows you the lack of parking in the area. So where is the overflow? When they originally spoke on this project, they talked about blasting and putting these wells, these tanks underground. There's a 10-15 foot elevation between Mohawk and where the top of this elevation is now. They're going to have to go down pretty deep to put a parking garage underneath, and to sugarcoat the fact that they're not going to blast is nonsense. That's just to get it through past your commission. Other than that, that's it. I'm opposed to this project. It's a little bit too much for the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Eldridge. Who's next, Ms. Castro?
Next will be Paula Zahar. She's just added in.
Okay.
You can unmute yourself.
Is she still muted, Ms. Castro?
Yes.
Working.
There
we go.
Okay, finally.
Okay, please identify yourself for the record and your address.
My name is Paula Zahar and I live at 21 Algonquin Road.
Okay.
And this project is in my backyard.
Mhm.
And as far as the traffic goes, it's terrible. When you go down to Cumbie's and you want to make a left, you're going to sit there a while. And the town has a lot of other projects going up just down the road, and all that's going to make more traffic. Does anybody consider that? Also, there's no sidewalks. If you have those apartments there, there's going to be people walking across the street to go to Cumbie's.
Okay, and you're referring to Cumberland Farms?
I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
I was asking if you were referring to Cumberland Farms.
Yes, Cumberland Farms.
Okay,
There's a project at Murphy's Lane. There's a project at Fatty Patty. There's a project at the other Cumberland Farms down the road. That's all going to come onto the River Road. We don't need this project in our little park. There's no parking now. When a guy comes to deliver, we've had times when the school bus goes by and a delivery guy at the same time. And we've had to move cars just so they could get by.
They don't make any.
Okay, anything else, Paula?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good.
Anything else you want to tell them?
No, that's it right now.
Okay. Thank you, Paula.
Thank you.
Who's next, Ms. Castro?
Well, to bring up those other projects.
I have one more. Give me 1 second. I'm just trying to remove the previous. See if you're muted.
Nope, you're not.
All right, I will be adding in Heidi Sorensen.
Are we good?
Just need to unmute yourself.
Heidi, you need to unmute yourself. Is she on Zoom or on phone?
She's on Zoom.
Okay, there you are. Okay, just unmute yourself. Can you help her out? Ms. Castro?
It's the little microphone that should be on the bottom left of your screen there.
I think I got it.
There we go.
Got it.
Can you hear
Okay.
me?
Yes, we can. Identify yourself for the record and go ahead.
Okay, my name is Heidi Sorensen. I've lived in Saginaw Trail now for 20 years. I look directly over the proposed lot and I'm mortified. And my issue is really more for the integrity of a very special neighborhood. We've got a neighborhood that's already been adversely affected by the city of Shelton. Let me explain. 25, 30 years ago, somehow the powers that be decided they'd put a dump next to our water that we used to just go and enjoy and boat and fish. And we had a recreational here, area here. Instead, in the town and the state's magnificence, they decided to put an unsightly dump in. And
Are you
so now
referring
instead
to
of,
the city landfill that's across the street?
it's that landfill across the street.
Mhm.
And that has permanently affected our land values. And that is just something that happened that we can't change. But now we can add insult to injury. Now we can put in a 4-unit high, and it's 4-unit high, but with a roof and with a parking garage, it's 6 units high in a tiny neighborhood full of little cottages in an area that you've already destroyed property values. And I have to say, is that fair for working class people? We are working class people. We have many greedy people who want to come in and make money off our backs. They have already done that. And now they wish to endanger. It's hard to get into Pine Rock. Everybody makes jokes about how tight the streets are. There's no place to park. You can get killed going up the roads here. This was meant to be a summer village that, was never meant to be for regular inhabitants. And now you're just jamming it with people. I don't know when I'm going to run out, but I mean, I basically feel like I'm up against a big machine of guys who want to make money. Whoever this guy is, the Albanian, I hear.
No personal comments, Mrs. Sorensen.
Okay, but
Speak to the
whoever
issue.
this man is who wants to make a 40-unit with some low-income housing, I'm not even against the some low-income housing. It's the 40 units that's insane. We simply have no room for it. So I don't want to just go on and complain, but I saw all the people from this commission that went down and took a look at this neighborhood, and I could see by their faces, and I'm a clinical social worker. I worked at Yale for 40 years. I could see by their reactions and their faces that they agreed it was a ridiculous project. Ridiculous. And I pray that they have kept their scruples about them and that they will continue and use their scruples rather than let this man get his greed. And with that, I will end my remarks.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Sorensen. Ms. Castro, who's next?
That is all.
Okay, I'll ask one more time. If there's anyone from the public who wishes to comment on this, please use Zoom's raise your hand feature or dial *9 on your phone. No other participants? No. Okay, so Attorney Thomas, do you want to respond to any of the comments made by the members of the public?
Sure. With respect to the first comment about the parking and the number of units and the parking has been the same throughout. It's 40 units and I think it's 60 or 61 spaces, 1.5. And we presented evidence that that was sufficient with respect generically to the parking and the issues with parking and how many cars. It's pretty much proven, and I think we mentioned this, that when people go into rent, they look at what is available to them and they take into account the amount of parking spaces that they have. As I mentioned during the hearing, certainly no parking signs along Mohawk, whatever you want to have, no parking, towing, or whatever you have. That's a deterrent to the people who apparently park there now illegally. But what I'm saying to you is we've provided enough parking spaces and not even the peer review challenged that. It said that he thought it would be a discussion. They didn't do that. With respect to Mr. Harbison's comments about level F and therefore ergo, it's F, so nothing can be done. That isn't correct. What F means is that your speed at that intersection and your wait time is much longer. It reaches a certain point. I think, if I'm not mistaken, in a prior hearing that the F is like 58 seconds, about a minute. It's a long time to wait. But that's the fact. And it tried to deny an 8-30G on the basis that it is an F when you have a peer review that says there is indirect effect and it will not change the level of service is not a basis. With respect to the fire access, and I think we may have pointed it out before, as I said, there's no need. You have approved Avalon on the river, at the locks on the river. You have approved, I think, both projects on Sunwood, one across the other. None of these have access to all four sides. So I understand when there's controversial things, people feel obligation to say things. But we have, and there are plenty of apartment buildings in plenty of towns and plenty of 8-30Gs that are fully sprinklered and that you don't have access to all four sides. So the fact of the matter is, if you needed access to the rear of this building, and you don't have it for the ones that I mentioned, and the last thing I checked, you don't have a fireboat for the ones along the river. But if you needed access, and Commissioner Kelly, when he asked this question, Manny Silva put up the aerial view, and if it were necessary, which I don't think it is because it's sprinklered and because you have other buildings like that that have been approved according to fire code, an aerial unit can simply place itself in that lower parking lot, raise itself, and get access to the rear of the building. So that's another red herring. With respect to the issue of the traffic and the parking, I appreciate the concerns. A lot of the concerns expressed by the neighbors are existing concerns, existing problems that apparently are being ignored. I would assume they're saying by the city of Shelton and the authorities that could deal with it. The fact of the matter is there's no evidence, it's only pure speculation, that anybody from the apartment building is going to park outside. And if there's no parking outside, they would violate the law. And you can't deny, certainly you can't deny any application, but most certainly an 8-30G on the basis that we think people are going to park outside because we think there's not enough. That speculation doesn't work. But certainly my clients would have no problem at all, and would support, I would assume, the police department putting no parking signs and taking avid enforcement. And obviously, I think you're all familiar with the changes that were made to the statutes and the removal of character, but multifamily amongst single family has existed for a very long period of time, and it has existed peacefully. And this is a situation where we think it would actually be an improvement to this site and everything. But again, there is nothing of an evidentiary nature that indicates that this proposal violates public health, safety, or welfare. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any final comments, questions, or concerns for Attorney Thomas from any of the commissioners?
This is Commissioner Kelly again. I have one question. I'd like to go back if I could. On Mohawk Avenue or Mohawk Drive, driving away from Long Hill, you go by the existing property or the existing dwelling that's there. And across the street, you have a park with a pond or a watering hole. There are two small, you go over, and on each side, there's two small stone arches. It's almost like at one time you were going over a bridge. is there a pipe or an excess from the water from that pond going someplace else? And does that go through the property that we're talking about?
I'd have to rely on Manny to do that, but I'm really
Okay.
not, if somebody could put up maybe Manny could put up the aerial and we can point out what you're talking about.
Sure.
I've walked on the site. didn't notice anything.
No, I looked
related
on
to
both
it.
sides. That's what I was surprised. It's on both sides.
So this is Manny Silva from Rostizo again.
Right, man.
So here on the corner is that park that you were speaking of. Now, is the archway that you're talking about this to the north or to the south?
All right, where is the
This is the parcel here.
Mohawk is right there.
Yep.
Okay, it's to the, yeah, where you're back a little bit from your arrow. Yeah, right around there.
Under the trees.
There's it's there you go.
Yep.
No, across the street from that. Keep going.
Think around.
Right here. Yep.
Yeah,
There-
yeah.
That's a dry laid stone wall. I mean,
Yeah, but
it's
it's
not.
on it's on the opposite side too. On the other side of the street.
No,
No, there's
No.
no wall here. So this right here is just a dried stack wall. It's not a head wall or anything for drainage.
All right, but where's the excess pipe? Where does the excess water run?
It must run this way, I
Well,
think.
it's underground. It's got to run in a pipe or something.
Yeah,
right?
towards Long Hill Avenue, I believe, which is because I don't want to say anything out of school here, but I don't think it goes towards Mohawk. It goes towards Long Hill Avenue, I think.
Okay, I wasn't quite sure because I saw, the arch there, and I said, well, is that a bridge? Was that an open area at one time?
No, I think if anything, Commissioner, the pond flows towards Long Hill Avenue, and then there must be some kind of pipe
Well,
that runs. up.
there is past that too, that you have that other stream on the other side that dumps on the side of the landfill.
Right. Yep. So if you can see here from the aerial, there's another little, looks like another little pond this below this larger one.
Mm-hmm.
And then that goes to somewhere in here in this brush, just before you get to Long Hill Avenue. My guess is, it's a guess at this point, would be that there's some kind of pipe that crosses between these properties and then down into River Road somewhere.
Okay.
But that I don't
Well,
see any large outfalls, and I mean the only outfall I know of is the one that's here, near where the transfer station was.
Okay.
So, but no, I don't believe there is a bridge or a culvert under Mohawk from that pond. No, I don't believe that to be the case. If anything, I see, as you can see here, the pond kind of drains towards Long Hill Avenue this way.
Well, the elevation goes down on both sides. That's why
Yeah, but I think this, as you can see here, this goes up, right, a little bit and then down.
Yeah.
So I think it goes down towards
Right,
Long Hill
but it
Avenue
also
that way.
it goes down the other way too.
Right. Yep.
Okay.
It goes down through. Actually, you could see it here. It comes down through
Right,
here.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yep. Okay. I hope that answers your question.
All right.
Okay.
Commissioner Parkins, I have a question.
Sure.
Attorney Thomas, perhaps you can refresh my memory. You had stated earlier that you had submitted evidence that there was sufficient parking. Can you remind me what that evidence was? You've got 27 two-bedroom apartments, and to think that there's only going to be 1.5 cars in that many 27 two bedrooms is just, it's unrealistic. And the fact that, sometimes you can say, well, guests can park on the street. There is no street parking. There's no street parking. And if it was, it should be available for the residents that actually pay taxes and own those homes,
It's
not for
permanent.
renters.
It's
So
yeah, you're right.
there is no extra parking. And so it's just unrealistic to think that 1.5 spaces for 27. I don't recall any, maybe other commissioners can pipe in here. I don't recall any apartment buildings that we've approved in, say, the past 10 years that have had that many two-bedroom apartments.
Mhm.
Not for that small tract of land.
So I disagree that you've got sufficient parking.
I agree. I just
Um,
had added it up. If you had just 2 cars for all the 2 bedrooms and for the 1 bedrooms, you'd be out of parking, way over parking. There's absolutely no possibility for parking off that site. That doesn't even take into account people who have parties or events.
And the onus shouldn't be put on the city to enforce no parking there.
And the other thing, saying that people won't rent if they don't feel there's enough parking for them, I don't believe that's a provable thing. I think people are desperate to find rents. They'll go anywhere they can get a rent, I'm pretty sure.
you want, okay, can I respond?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. The report was dated March 17th, 2023. It's a 9-page report. It was uploaded. The only thing I can tell you is, and I understand what your perceptions are. The fact of the matter is there's very little, if any, empirical evidence to support the position about overparking and overflows, which is why which is why we filed the report, number one, and which is why the statutes are starting to contain restrictions on parking regulations to prevent to be used as a basis for 8-30G. But what we did in this case is we presented a report. Then you had the report peer review. We're going to assume, I have to assume, the peer review people read everything that was uploaded. And there's a 9-page report that indicated that 1.5 is sufficient. There is plenty of evidence if you go to apartment buildings and everything. We also, I think, referenced the famous parking study that was done over the course of 12 years, and which indicated that did it study when is during the peak residential parking time, which is from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m., in which it basically was part of the input into this report. So we've presented the evidence. It would have been very easy for M&J Engineering to say, oh no, that's wrong. And here's the statistics to prove it's wrong. No, what their statement was I think there was supposed to be some discussion between the applicant and the staff about reducing, but we don't reducing the density, but we don't know how that materialized. So that's the extent. You had a peer review. And
Well, I personally disagree. So
okay.
Attorney Thomas, when you look at 13 1-bedrooms and 1 car in each, and then you have 27 1.5 cars, you're slightly under. But if you're 2 bedrooms, 2 working persons, I would say that there's 2 cars per, and you're over 60, you're at 67 cars that way. So.
and there's not even space to defer.
No.
No guest.
Yeah,
spaces
visitor
or anything.
parking, has visitor parking been noted on those site plans?
There's no, there will be 40 spaces, 1 allocated to each unit. And the rest of the units, the people have to realize that they are. And for visitor parking, people will have to address it. People will understand that they can't. We've presented the evidence. I understand what your feelings are. But certainly if there was evidence to support your position, the M&J would have come up with it. You did a peer review.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't. I'm assuming they read what we presented.
All right, any final comments? If not, there was one person that staff alerted me from the public who had not been able to get on but would like to speak. So I'd like to accommodate them as long as the person is addressing the merits of the application and is not repeating comments already presented. So if you want to bring that person in from the weight room, Ms. Castro?
I have added in Paulette.
Okay, Paulette, please identify yourself for the record.
Give her a second to load.
Sure.
And if you can just unmute yourself.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Go ahead. Identify yourself for the record.
Paulette Campbell, 807 Main Street, Meriden, Connecticut. My mother is Paula Zahar. Our family property borders this property.
Mhm.
I have spoken before. First, I want to address the water situation from the pond is incorrect. I mentioned at a previous meeting, the water flows from Long Hill Avenue through the pond, under Mohawk, through the properties of 25 and 21 Algonquin Road, right where it's kind of bordering our properties with this property of this proposal. We mentioned this at another meeting because we are concerned about blasting of these huge concrete pipes that run underneath these properties. And that has been a big concern of ours. So I just wanted to make sure, first of all, that you knew that that's the way the water flows. It does flow nearby this property. So blasting could be an issue if it disrupts or damages those pipes. Water can flow out, flood yards and whatnot. In addition, I just kind of had to say that it has been mentioned by the attorney a lot, the word speculation. And you can speculate the same way, the opposite. We can speculate that, sure, only 40 people will have cars, but you have to also speculate then that there'll be more cars. And I know some of you have been saying that tonight, and I appreciate that. But we have this big concern. We know traffic is an issue. I do have a question about the blasting, because tonight it was mentioned that there was some trench blasting at Casa Nova that we were not aware of. And we're just wondering, what is the radius of notification of nearby neighbors when there is blasting, including trench blasting? Because I know our family was not notified, and that property is somewhat close to ours.
Okay, is that it? Paula?
I mean, and I've talked a couple times before. There's not much more that I can say. I know everyone knows it's not realistic, this parking. We're still worried about the runoff and everything into our property and the damage to our property. And obviously the community as a whole, you know, from everyone that showed up in that meeting, people are starting to lose faith, but they can't, because we know this is not meant for here. It doesn't fit, doesn't make sense. We do believe in multifamily homes. There are some in our neighborhood that are duplexes. This property, 2 duplexes would be perfect. That's enough. It still has multifamily and still serves what our neighborhood should look like and have appropriate parking. So I just like to when I keep hearing assume and speculate, you have to go the opposite too. When we say, oh, speculate, people, I agree before when we were saying that people are not going to just rent based on parking space. We know there's not enough. So I hope you please keep that in consideration. This neighborhood does not need this. And we're really hoping for some changes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, seeing that there are, Attorney Thomas, did you want to comment on the?
No, I think I've responded to all the
Okay,
questions.
all right, thank you. So how does the commission would like to proceed on this application? Is there a motion to continue or close the public hearing?
This is Commissioner Kelly. I think we should continue the public hearing. Number one, because of the water flow, if that is correct. We haven't decided on that. And also in the peer review report, it says that the developer team to introduce the idea of scaling back the number of proposed units in order to provide adequate minimum parking on site. You know, I don't think we've entertained everything that with as far as the parking is concerned. You know, you can't park on the street. It's permit parking only. So I really feel it should be left open.
Okay,
Excuse me, I'm gonna have to object. This has gone on long enough. To
Well,
be
you
very
can
honest
object
with
all you
if
want,
you're-
but the board can
Thomas.
vote on it.
Okay,
Attorney Thomas, this is a discussion that I presented to the commission. You're not included in this. I'm sorry. I
you're
have
beyond
asked
your
the
time frame.
commission, I have asked the commission to indicate how they'd like to proceed on the application. Commissioner Kelly feels that the public hearing should be left open. And so I'm going to ask other commissioners what's their
This
position
is
on
Commissioner
that.
Parkins. I'm a little concerned about the time frame. I certainly would not want to miss the clock and have this be an automatic approval. So I think
This
we
is
have
not
to
an
be very
automatic approval.
conscious of that.
This is not an automatic approval. I don't take, I did not say that. This is not an automatic approval. We waited 9 months to get this up for a 1.5 page peer review.
Mhm.
And at this point, I'm gonna have to be frank, and I have to represent my client. It is beginning to look like, because this is an 8-30G, because there is public opposition, you're gonna just keep continuing it for reasons. The fact of the matter is, whether the water was left or right, it makes no difference to this application.
Sure
If
it
there
does.
were to be blasting, if there were to be anything, it would have to be, anything would have to be taken into account. It
Carolyn, and
seems like you're searching.
I know you did mention
for-
before that he should not be allowed to be part of this discussion.
Mhm.
My thought
right.
is that he's just going to argue either way. If the peer review said something he didn't agree with, he's going to say that that's ridiculous. And now he's using it to point out the fact that it supports his position.
Mhm.
Because
we-
you know, we have a right to
Can you hear
also,
me?
what's that?
I've been trying to get in here. I'm not sure
Okay.
if you can hear me.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Go
Tickett.
ahead.
And since the very top of this, I just want to note that our meeting is not being recorded live right now on YouTube. So I just think that we should take into consideration that not everyone has the Zoom link. Some residents have been able to join if they had the Zoom link, but I would agree to keep the public hearing open. I was going to say at the top, just noting that I feel like this had such a great amount of public interest from the neighborhood. And so they should at least have the opportunity for this to be posted online. According to staff, it'll be posted tomorrow on YouTube. And I think that we should keep the public hearing open.
Was the link not posted on the website?
It was on our agenda that is posted on the website. Go ahead, Ms. Castro.
I don't have the code to get in from my home network, so we have to wait.
Okay. All right. First of all, I think it is, it's a good idea for the commission to do its due diligence on this particular application. And I think Commissioner Tickey has a valid point, so that those that did not, are not in attendance tonight remotely will have the opportunity to listen to the proceedings. Commissioner Amato, were you trying to say something?
Yeah, I was gonna say, should we ask the peer reviewer to weigh in on the parking as the plan stands?
Mm-hmm.
Thought maybe it was gonna change, so we didn't address it, but
Right.
he didn't address it, so we
Right.
don't have that information.
Okay. That's a
Fine.
valid recommendation. Okay. Anybody else on the commission? Okay, so Commissioner Kelly, were you making a motion to continue the public hearing?
Yes, I am.
Okay, is there a second from the commission?
Commissioner Tickey will second.
Thank you, Commissioner Tickey. So on the motion to continue, made by Commissioner Kelly, seconded by Commissioner Tickey. Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Lascos,
Aye.
Commissioner Motto,
Aye.
Commissioner Tickey,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Motion has been approved by a vote 6-0. This application will be on the agenda of an upcoming meeting for continuing the public hearing. Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is the continuation of the public hearing for application 2228, Dominic Thomas for Recar LLC and Mayanis Holdings LLC at 704, 712, 722, and 726 River Road, Assessors Map 22, Lots 1 and 2, and Map 32, Lots 16 and 17 for modification to PDD number 66 and final site development plans to increase the size of the PDD from 8.645 acres to 11.981 acres, relocate and increase the size of the previously approved restaurant and event facility add a 7,800 square foot office building, reduce the 102 previously approved apartments to 90 apartments, and add 35 condominium units to the existing PDD site. Again, because this has not been on the agenda for a while, I just want to remind commissioners that on the city's website are the application for modification of PDD number 66, the Second Amendment Statement of Uses and Standards, original and revised final site development plans, revised architectural plans, artist renderings, landscape plan, diagrams showing proposed walkways and retaining walls, building renderings, the location of the gas easements, a letter from with a revised drainage summary report, a photo of a public access path in Greenwich, traffic report, fire marshal's report, original and revised renderings, the application for review of coastal site plans and a project narrative, a site plan with indication of plains and floodways, high water, coastal jurisdiction, the estuarine embayment line and FEMA zones, letters from Iroquois Pipeline and Attorney Knott, cover letter and AD application from SLR, letter, comments and checklist from DEEP, an engineering review memo, and a peer review response letter. A quick timeline: the public hearing opened on January 25th, 2023, was continued to March 15th, April 19th, and May 24th, 2023. So we have heard an explanation about the revised site plan, the building design, a traffic report. In January and in March, the project engineer reviewed revisions made to the parking lot, raised islands. The fire marshal was concerned about insufficient space for fire apparatus, and that's why the parking lot raised islands were revised. There was also a new connection between two parking areas for better circulation of fire apparatus. Plans to pave the gravel sidewalk from the crosswalk to the restaurant. The width of the curb cuts from River Roads were sufficient, according to Mr. Kroll, the applicant. And Mr. Panico indicated any change to the curb cuts would need approval from Department of Transportation. Project architect reviewed the change to the interior lobby of the medical restaurant building. There was discussion about number of parking spaces for the condos and the rowing club building. Attorney Thomas indicated the project did not have any affordable housing units. Mr. Kroll indicated he would be meeting with the Iroquois right-of-way manager regarding the utility easement. One member of the public spoke and asked about the need for a revised CAM study. And if the water dependent use should be increased, that the city's right-of-way for public access had been relinquished by the city. And whether or not there were plans to preserve the house at 704 River Road, as it had some historical value. Mr. Kroll indicated he would confirm whether or not the CAM would need to be revisited, as the auto swage property had increased the property size of the application. Commissioner Parkins asked that any verification be submitted in writing. In April, at the continuation, Attorney Thomas indicated there were changes to the revised site plan. The building was relocated to not interfere with the Iroquois gas easement, and the auto swage property is not in the floodplain. I reminded the applicant that some of the paddle courts are located over the Iroquois pipeline right away, and Attorney Thomas indicated the courts would be torn up if maintenance was needed at some point. The commission also heard from the applicant's engineer, who provided modified application documents, which incorporated the auto swage property into the CAM application, and that the engineer reviewed the site plan changes, a corrected property boundary, and confirmed there were no changes to parking. At that meeting, the commission discussed building aesthetics. Mr. Panico noted the commission would need to be shown the design of the dumpster enclosures. Commissioner Laskos requested a cross-section be prepared, and the applicant's engineer indicated it would be. Mr. Panico requested details about the concrete sidewalks and how many parking spaces are underneath the building. I inquired about the number of charging stations for EVs, and the applicant's engineer indicated there were 2 on the auto swage site. Attorney Thomas confirmed, again, no affordable housing units were included in the apartment buildings. And during the public portion, the Iroquois right-of-way manager spoke and reiterated the concerns in his March 30th letter indicated he had not received copies of the plans he had requested in advance of the meeting. Iroquois manager indicated he needs to confirm the project doesn't encroach upon their easement rights. He has concerns about grading and test pits may be required. And at the May 24th meeting, Attorney Thomas indicated that several new and revised plans had been posted to the application's website that afternoon. Ms. Castro, any other reports, materials, or correspondence received within the time period for this application, but not yet posted to the city's website that need to be acknowledged for the record?
No, there's not.
Okay, so Attorney Thomas, I know that you're present. If you could just identify yourself for the record. And there's been several new items that now appear on the city's website for the last couple months. Do you plan to review those this evening?
Yeah, Attorney Dominic Thomas, Conan Thomas, the Main Derby, Connecticut, representing the applicant. In response to well, first of all, Andrew Kuzmich, Joe Mingalello, and Rick Crawl should be admitted. Again, this is a situation of waiting for a peer review, which a peer review was done. And a peer review response was uploaded to the website, and Andrew Kuzmich, it will address that. In addition, there was a report, and just so the commission understands, the CAM is something that the commission said, if you read the CAM statutes, the commission sends to D once it gets the application in. The application is part of the zoning approval, and I'm assuming the commissioners have reviewed them, but the CAM report from DEEP is in, and I think Andrew Kuzmich may be able to address that also, as Rick Prawl. So with that, I will turn it over to Andrew. I assume the first step would be to address the peer review, and Andrew, you can either share your response letter or I can screen share it, whatever you prefer. You're on mute. You're on mute now.
All right, Andrew Kuzmich, professional engineer with Redness and Mead, representing Mr. Crawl. I will pull up our response letter right now. But the majority of the comments on the peer review letter stemmed from the review using an outdated set of site plans and a current drainage report. So there was some confusion with which documents, utility crossing issues and studies and things like that were just an issue between them looking at old plans.
But the current plan that they used was for what?
So they used our site plans from March of 2023 and our drainage report from June of 2023.
Okay.
And when we issued the June drainage report, we also issued plans at that time.
Okay.
Attorney Thomas, can you pull it up? Sorry, I can't get to my response letter right now, but just a quick recap of it. So they asked that the peer review asked about sightline distance and if we had adequate sightline distance. We do have adequate sightline distance that's outlined in the traffic study SLR report. It's consistent with the requirements of Connecticut DOT for the type of road that we front in front of. The peer review asked about our sediment erosion control plan and providing additional information about how the project would be phased and construction water would be controlled during that time. We have provided a phasing plan, and because of the size of the project and the location of it, we will have to go and apply for a general stormwater permit with DEEP, which would at that time will provide additional phasing information to their satisfaction. So that's an item that I think we've provided some information on to give an idea of how the project will be constructed in phases, and we'll have to satisfy the state prior to getting their approval for stormwater discharge. And then the last one, well, there were two more that I'll touch on. So for the CAM application, we did receive, and it's on the town website for this project, we did receive positive referral comments from Connecticut DEP that essentially recognize that this is a similar project to what they approved previously, but we're adding an extra property onto it. Their review checklist and comments are on the town's website. Really nothing of concern there from our perspective. And then, so the last one was so the peer review asked us to provide the watershed area for the pipe study that we did for the 36-inch stormwater pipe that runs through the property towards the sound. That watershed study was done by my office before I worked there in 2006. We have the map for it, and that's something we can provide certainly, at any time prior to building permit, whenever necessary. But it's consistent with the watershed calculations that we have in our drainage report now.
Mm-hmm. Anything else?
That's really it. I think the comments I didn't touch on were really just, like I said before, an issue of looking at, obsolete plans and a current drainage report.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any questions for Mr. Kuzmic by the commission?
No.
Okay. Attorney Thomas, who else do you have?
You're on mute, Dominic.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, Rick Crawl, if you want to address the conversations with Iroquois and any of the other updates. Again, just to remind you, the June 6th plans addressed all the concerns that were expressed by the commission and engineering and everything. We addressed all the concerns at that point, including even any of the architectural things, but I'll turn it over to Rick.
Thank you, Thomas. Can you all hear me? We're good.
Yes, we can.
Rick Crowell, I'm the owner of the property. Thank you. Good to see you all, even though it's video. But our relationship with Iroquois actually has grown over the last several months. We have a good working relationship with their rights of ways person who's stationed here locally. I've met with him several times on site. Iroquois has actually done a survey, a physical survey and testing of the area from River Road all the way down to the river to confirm the location of their pipe and its depth at several locations throughout the site. It was a good comprehensive survey. They've provided our engineers with all of that information. We're incorporating that and have incorporated into the site plan. There are no issues as we've reported in the past. There are a couple of areas that we need to address as far as going over the pipe in one area on the driveway, where depending upon the actual final cut, we may have to put in a bit of a concrete protection abutment per their requirements. That's something that their internal engineers looking at and will get back to us with what their design is. They did ask that we move one catch basin, which we can easily do. We're just waiting on final site plan approval to be sure that you folks are happy with everything else. But we're in a very good place with Iroquois and the gas company and the easements and any modifications, because there actually was a little bit of a change from their physical survey that would change the actual easement language. So I'll just let you know that when we file final site plan, there will be a slight modification to the actual easement language. But the attorneys for my attorney, Dominic Thomas, and the attorney for Iroquois will work out that language to ensure that it's now correct on the land records. There was some conflict between the different surveys that have been done over the years. But we're in a very good place with Iroquois. And I guess while I'm talking, I'll just also mention that we were also in front of the WPCA in Stratford 2 months back now, I think it was. And Stratford has basically approved the conceptual plan, but has tabled the item until they receive approval, or I receive approval from you. Once I have the actual planning and zoning approval, I go back to Stratford and they will actually confirm the vote and pass it on to their town attorney to draft the necessary documents that come back to Shelton for the use of the sewer. This was actually a modification of the prior approval for the sewering, but they were happy that we had come back to them and updated them on the plan, and were in full support of the modifications and changes, and agreed that it had been within the consideration of their sewering plan when they had looked at the area in Shelton that they were willing to accommodate. So we're in a good place as well with Stratford and the sewering issue. That was one of the other open items. So I figured I would just report on that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kroll. Attorney Thomas, anybody else? Or does any commissioner have any questions for Mr. Kroll first? Nope.
The, well, what? Nothing with the affordable housing units? We've raised, I don't think we've gotten.
We did, and I'll defer to Rick, we did revise the plan after that. I wasn't, when the chairman was reviewing some of the things, we revised the plan in response to that, and I believe at the May hearing, not March hearing, at the May hearing, I think the proposal was changed with respect to the apartments to and Rick can correct me if I'm wrong, to increase the apartments based on redesign of the 2 buildings, and I think at that point 10% affordable at 80% AMI was offered, even though there'd already been a prior approval of 102 units without any affordable units. So in the revised plan, I think the number of units, and Rick, is 140, is that correct?
That's correct. At that meeting, we had come back to you with a redesign of the 2 apartment buildings, and given, your desire to help the affordable situation, we matched the 10%, which was similar to the percentage you had given a previously approved project in the downtown area on the river, who had also created some public access. So I agreed that we would do the same. We added 10% of the 140 or 14 additional, if you will, affordable units, and we were able to actually not change the site plan or the actual physical footprints of the existing buildings too much. We did have to downsize the apartments and kind of scale back a little bit the overall design. We had that discussion of, once you start to bring that affordable component in, it does have to balance out all the way across with the units. So in detracting, if you will, from maybe that higher end concept. But I do believe that there is going to be quite a waiting list for those folks that would desire these affordable units, given that they all have waterfront views and are not changed in any design in any way from all of the other units that are being offered in the project. So they are very desirable units, and I believe given the 10% should help. And I recognize the commission's efforts to try and provide those affordable units, and we wanted to try and cooperate. So that is part of the proposal.
Okay, so just to clarify, the 2 buildings have 14 more units, and to be able to add those number of units, other units were redesigned and made smaller, and we have 14 units as affordable as part of this project.
That is correct, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for the applicant?
Yeah, just to be clear, so there's 90 apartments, 10% of 90 would be 9 affordable units?
No,
They went up.
the plan increased it.
To
So
40.
by the redesign, we didn't have to change the footprint. The redesign changed the units to 140, 270. Is that correct, Rick?
Well,
270?
I think we're a little confused. What we did was we took the total number of housing units. So we included the condominiums with
Okay.
Oh,
the
that's
rental units. So when we put the number together, now the total housing units is 140. We took 10% of the total housing units, not just 10% of the apartments. So we
Okay.
ended up with 14 units that will be affordable, but the affordable units will be in the rental area, not in the condominiums as per the commission's request.
Yeah,
So
okay.
we took it I gave 10% of the total housing number, not just the apartments.
Thank you.
So that's how those numbers work out.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
So you're taking the 90 apartments plus the 35, that gives you 125. And
No, you added into the apartments. You reduced the size of some of the apartments to add more apartments.
Right,
Am I correct?
right. Correct.
okay, any other comments for the applicant? Okay, then we're gonna open it up to the public. If there's any any elected official of the city of Shelton participating remotely that would like to comment on this application, please use Zoom's raise your hand feature or dial *9 on your phone to be identified. Comments are limited to the materials submitted since the last time the application was on the agenda, which was May 24th. And just for the record, Mr. Rossetti has joined us at 6:45. Okay, Ms. Castro, anybody there?
Yes, I am adding in a phone number. Let's call in, and it will just need to unmute. There we go.
Is this person going to
Hello?
Yes.
be?
Yes, good evening. All of a sudden I lost my Zoom. My name is Kenneth K, K-A-Y-E. I live at 560 River Road, unit number 14, that's Shelton Cove.
Okay, Mr. K, just hold up a minute, Mr. K. Ms. Castro, are there any
Certainly.
elected officials?
My apologies. No, there was
Okay,
not.
all right, so Mr. K, just hold on a minute. So anybody, a member of the public who is not a city official, if you would like to comment, please indicate by hitting *9 on your phone or using Zoom's raise your hand feature. And in the meantime, Mr. K, go ahead and just identify yourself again.
Yes, my name is Kenneth K, K-A-Y-E. Live at 560 River Road, unit 14. It's a Toll Brothers Townhome community of Shelton Cove. Just a little bit clarification, and I lost my Zoom here, so I'm on my phone, obviously, at this point. Can you kindly reconfirm that, or re-clarify, the site there is going to include the simplest part, I think, a 7,800 square foot office building?
Okay, the applicant will respond at the close of all the comments from the public.
Okay, my other question is if you can re-clarify the total number of units. Are you saying that the total units of the two buildings will be 140 units, which will include 95 condo units? And if that is correct, are the condo units going to be separate into one separate building?
Okay.
And then my last question is, I don't think it was made reference to, is that I saw in the site plans, which again, I give compliments. I've been involved with this since May of this year, and I compliment Alexandria Castro for being very available and providing site plans, etc. So those are my basic questions. So therefore, I can report to our association members, our owners, which there's a total of 36 unit owners here.
Okay. You're a member of the homeowners association, I take it?
Yes, yes, I am, and I'm on various committees. I'm also very, very involved with Kelly in the mayor's office regarding the concerns of the Housatonic River enforcement. I've been in contact with the I believe is the newly appointed deputy chief, Kevin Stratton, and both of them have been very, very helpful in providing information. And hopefully for next spring, particularly I've highlighted the fact that if Great River Water Club is being approved for this very interesting and beneficial complex and construction with the marina and a restaurant, etc. I said the importance of the maintenance and the enforcement of the Housatonic River, at least on the Shelton side of it, is extremely important. And definitely, I would imagine if I was a prospective buyer of the condos, I would ask those specific questions.
Okay.
So, thank you for that, and I look forward to receiving some of the responses to some of my questions.
Very good. Ms. Castro, is there anybody else?
There is not.
Oh, there isn't. Okay. So Attorney Thomas, can you respond to Mr. Kay's questions, please?
Well, yes, there is a 7,800 square foot office building. There's also a restaurant. And again, with respect to the condos, there are 35 condos. Rick, you correct me if I'm wrong. We didn't change the amount of the condos. There are 35 condos, and then I think 105.
Apartments.
I think it's 105 apartments between the two buildings.
Okay.
I think you're correct. The numbers are all correct, Dominic. I just wanted to point out so that the Mr. K with his questions, the office space and restaurant are now located on the current Auto Swage property site. So that was a little bit of the delay in this project in acquiring that property, getting it cleaned up and getting it environmentally in shape. Even with the further construction that we're going to do, the current Auto Swage building will be raised. The site will be further cleaned and continually monitored with monitoring wells to ensure the safety and quality of the water, especially coming down the embankment there through all that bank run gravel. So that is and has been one of the priorities and one of the reasons we went forward in acquiring that property, to ensure the integrity of it in being adjacent to the original property that had been proposed. Happy to go through that with you in the future. Also, as part of the project, I think you saw that we are allowing one of the boat slips to be dedicated to the Shelton Fire Department so that they have a boat on the river. And we've currently support them regularly. They come down and train on site, use the boat, their boats there. Our service facility services a number of the local municipalities that do have safety boats, in particular Stratford, which is very big on the river. So we work very closely with all of those agencies to ensure the safety, because as you know, our crew program is out there in the river. We have a lot of master rowers and paddleboarders that rely on the no wake zones and the public minding their P's and Q's on the river. We do have no wake buoys that we continually have to watch people going through so that they're not disturbing the marina and people docking their boats there. So yes, you have our full support in any effort to continue to clean the river and make the river a safe place for recreational people to enjoy. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Kroll. Any final comments, Attorney Thomas?
No, I think we've addressed everything and
Very good.
certainly addressed the peer review questions.
Last chance for any comments, questions, or concerns from the commission?
There is one point I'd like to make
Sure.
on percentages. and I want to clarify it, as Rick said, 10%. With respect to the amount of affordable, if you're just focusing on the apartments, obviously the amount is a little higher than the percentage is higher than the 10%. Because if you're focusing on the apartments, I know that you haven't been requiring, the affordable housing plan deals with residential rental apartments, but that I think Rick explained it, we're doing 10% of the entire housing, which, the count. But I
Yeah.
just wanted to point that out.
Okay. All right, how does the commission wish to proceed with this application?
I think we could close the public
I
hearing.
do too. I think we can close it also.
Okay. Well, would someone like to make a motion to that effect?
I'll make a motion to close the
Okay,
public
and is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so on the motion to close the public hearing from Commissioner Kelly, second by Commissioner Amato. I'll do a roll call. Commissioner Tiki,
I'm going to vote no, just to stay consistent on my previous vote and opinion on the live meeting.
oh, okay. Very good. Commissioner Laskos,
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins. You're on mute.
You're sinking.
Yeah, I'm troubled with this as well, due to Commissioner Tiki's comment.
Okay, just going back on my notes. The point that Commissioner Tiki had made before was the meeting was not on YouTube. And that is the concern that he had. Is that correct, Commissioner Tiki?
That is correct.
That is, yeah, that was my perspective for the last one, which had a lot of public input. I know we take things case by case, but for me, I voted no just to be consistent throughout the evening. This is not live on YouTube. Not everyone has access to the agenda, whereas our YouTube link is always up there. People watch the meeting, so.
Why would they not have access to the agenda though, Commissioner Tiki? If they have access, they've obviously have computer access. So why would they not be able to access the agenda?
Right, if someone
What's your
clicks,
thoughts on that?
my thoughts would be if someone clicks through the website, which is about 50 links down, and one of the P&Z links, as I found out tonight, is broke. If you click through the navigation, you have to click through a couple different ways to get to it. You can absolutely reach our agenda. I think some people go to the YouTube page and find the live meeting there. So for me, on the previous vote, it is that the meeting is not happening live on YouTube, which has always been a benefit. So since we've always acted in a way where we've got a live meeting streaming, for me, it didn't make sense to close a public hearing if we were not live on YouTube with it, when a member of the public might not know how to go and search for our agendas or might just pull up the YouTube link. So for me, in the previous vote, it was about letting it be posted tomorrow, keeping that public hearing open, and then in our next meeting, when we know that that live has now been out there, we can move forward with it.
Do we have room on the agenda to have it on our next meeting? Or is this going to be put on an agenda that's months away? I hate to keep continuing these types of hearings that we're not looking for any additional information.
Right.
So this is kind of a quandary here.
Yeah, next meeting is the 20th. After that, it would be January 10th, I believe.
Do we have room to put it on the agenda?
We can make room.
I would be more comfortable with only extending the public hearing 1 week rather than just delaying this, because it's just going to make our future meetings extra long as well.
I understand. And you know what? Tell you the truth, I didn't mention it before, but with Mr. Panico not available, he had definite concerns about just different aspects of the project and how the elevations looked and how.
Okay, fair point.
So I think this might give us a chance to make sure that he has weighed in on everything that has been submitted.
Okay, I think it would be appreciated if we don't extend it into the new year.
Okay.
My thoughts.
All right, Commissioner.
So that in that case, I would vote in favor of keeping the hearing open.
Well, the motion was to close the public hearing, so I'll record you as a nay.
Oh, then yeah, nay.
Okay.
Mr. Panico's comments are important as well.
That's for sure. Okay, Commissioner Amato, what about you?
If it's just gonna go till the 20th, then that's okay.
All right, so you would be a nay. Unless, Commissioner Kelly, do you want to revise your original motion Seeing
No,
that,
no, because I feel that, this was an extension of what we already approved.
Mhm.
And I thought Mr. Panico kind of worked with the engineers, so on and so forth before this.
Mhm.
So I'm still in favor of closing it.
Okay. All right, Commissioner, so you're on an aye to close the public hearing.
That's
Um,
correct.
I'm gonna have to vote nay only because err on the side of caution, just to make sure that, we do give the public a chance to hear the, this particular project, on YouTube, and to make sure that, Mr. Panico does not have any concerns that he would have presented tonight if he had been available. Okay, so the motion has, been denied to, continue by a vote of 4-2. So the public hearing is being left open. So, we will make sure that it is on the agenda for next week, December 20th. All right, next agenda item is the opening of a public hearing for application 2327 Walden Local Meat, 7 Progress Drive. Assessors map 28, lot 26 for a special exception under 42D in an LIP zone for a wholesale business and supply facility. Commissioner Amato, do you have the legal notice? That you
I do. This is the Walden Local Meat.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. Initiation of application 23-27 Walton Local Meat at 7 Progress Drive, Assessors map 28, lot 26 on 2.52 acres in an LIP zone for a special exception of Schedule A, line 42D, to allow wholesale business and supply facilities to operate a fulfillment and delivery facility of frozen and refrigerated food products. Plans titled Modified Development Plans prepared by Catherine S. Brennan, LLC, were prepared by Codispot, I guess, and Associates, PC. The property is generally bounded as follows: northerly by 11 Progress Drive, westerly by 1 Bick Way, southerly by 8 Progress Drive, and easterly by 14 to 20 Progress Drive.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Castro, who is present?
I have added in Red. If she can just unmute herself and then let me know if there's anyone else who should be joining.
Hi, yeah, there should be Dan Canales as well.
I am adding in, and Madam Chair, just so you know, I am switching host responsibilities with Alex Rossetti.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we have Red and we have Dan. We did have Dan, there he is. Okay, so who is going to make the presentation from the applicant?
I will.
Okay, so identify yourself for the record and proceed.
So I'm Red LeVake. I'm an operations manager for Walden Local Meat. We actually just signed our lease yesterday for 7 Progress, and very little changes to what we'd like to do to this building. I am going to share my screen if you don't mind. I just have a brief rundown of the business that we're running at that property.
Go right ahead.
Let's see.
So according to the information we have, you would be relocating your entire operation from Stamford?
Correct. Yep. So we've been in Stamford now for 5 years. And we've just outgrown that location and are looking to move up to this building in Chilton.
So on the, can you sort of estimate, is this a doubling of the space that you have in Stamford, or tripling it, or?
So it's actually we're in just under 1,000 square feet currently in the property that we're in now. So it would be almost 10 times the amount of space we have.
Wow. Okay. Very good.
So can everybody see the presentation I'm pulling up?
Yes.
Okay. So the first couple slides is just a little background on what we do. We partner with local farms in New England and New York. to support them in raising animals that then they transport to processors also in New England and New York. Really focused on taking care of the wellness of the animals as well as the land that they're farming on. So much smaller farms than what animals are grown on for the product that you see at grocery stores, and very, very long relationships as well that we have with our farmers. Our farms, they raise animals outside on pastures that are herbicide and pesticide free here in New England and New York, and they don't use antibiotics or hormones. So our products, you can see in the top right here, that's an actual Walden chair. It comes in this reusable bag that we deliver directly to our members' homes. And we have all types of proteins, pork, beef, chicken, fish, lamb, as well as some dairy products and eggs. And then this is just a rundown of kind of how our business works. So the animals are raised on the farms that we partner with. They transport them to the processors we have, like I said, across New England and New York. We then transport the finished product. It's all ready, frozen, and fully packaged when we pick it up from the processor and brought to our location, which is in Tewksbury, Mass. That's where we keep most of our inventory and fulfillment. From there, we transport the product into shares to our members' homes or also to wholesale and retail outlets. The Connecticut location is quite small. It's really just a flow-through station for our member deliveries and a very small amount of wholesale business as well. So on a daily basis, we're just going to see a truck dispatch, one single truck dispatch up to our Tewksbury, Mass location to pick up their daily load. We'll have the delivery vans preloaded in the morning, and then they depart to head out to our members' homes for their deliveries. For the rest of the day at the warehouse, it's just a couple people that are doing prep work for the rest of the day for the upcoming deliveries the following day. And then the truck returns from Massachusetts and unloads the product for the next day's deliveries. And then the vans come back after their deliveries and unload. Currently, we have 9 employees. We do flex up to 13, around 13 people for this spike in the season that we have for November and December for the holidays. And then this is the site location. We're not making any exterior changes. So you can see where you have the same usage of parking that they're using now. It's California Closets that the business was, they've moved out by now, but very same usage of the property that they were doing in terms of parking. There's one dock door for the truck and then a drive-in dock door that I have pointed out there. So that's the access that our vehicles will have into the building. And then this is actually the areas that we service from this location. So it's parts of Connecticut, New York, and New Jersey. The wholesale that I spoke about, we currently partner with 9 Miles East, Damn Good Muffins, Farm True, and Dumpling Daughter. So those are locations that we would pick up product from to add into our members' shares, or they would be using our product in their items that they sell through their retail outlets. And then we do service some donations through this location. So places like food banks, relief organizations, shelters, and animal sanctuaries. We've this year donated 3,000 pounds within Connecticut, and our partners include Jericho, JPN, and Second Chance Foods. We've donated over 50,000 pounds this year, and through our member program, we donate 1% out to charity organizations.
Red, is it possible for you to click on that little window down at the bottom where it says hide? Stop sharing?
Oh, yes. Sorry.
Good. Oh, thank you. All right. If you could go back to slide number 6.
Yep.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. Drive-in door and loading dock. are the loading docks inside the building?
No, so that's an exterior access door for the truck to pull up to then unload into the building.
Okay, so it's a typical back the truck up to the overhead door kind of
Correct.
opening, but there's no interior loading at all. Okay.
The one of the doors is a drive-in door, so it's ground level, so a van could actually pull into the building to be loaded. And then the other door is truck height, where the truck would just back into the building or back
Okay.
up, sorry, against the building, but not inside.
Okay, so like the one that they would back up to, that's the delivery kind of
Correct.
vehicle, and the smaller one is the one that could go inside to be loaded inside.
Correct.
They may use the outside one as well.
The vans could use the outside ones, which is actually what we do up here in Mass, where we use a ramp to get the shares from inside the building through the dock height door and down to the van.
Okay.
We don't have a drive-in door where we operate now, so this building actually suits that function of the business much better because we'll be able to pull the van inside.
Okay. On the letter that's dated November 6th, in the second paragraph, this is operating hours will be Monday through Friday, occasional weekend work at peak times of years, and at the customer request. What kind of customer requests do you normally get?
It's not usually from our members for the weekend work. It would be more for the charities or the wholesale customers if they need to pick up or do a delivery to us on the weekend.
Okay. Loading operations definitely would begin at 2:30 in the morning.
Correct.
Is that when the large vehicles come in that have the product that's going to be redistributed?
No, the truck that picks up from Massachusetts will leave around 3 in the morning. So that truck just gets started up and leaves. There's no loading of it in the morning. It's the vans that start getting loaded around 2:30. It's 1 to 2 people that are loading the vans one at a time, and that'll happen within the building.
And that's 7 of them. It says further
Correct.
down, you have 7 vans. Okay, my concern is that if you're not loading inside, then in the early morning hours, sound travels like nobody's business. If this is made down the street are condos, I would, in one direction, another direction, there's other condos. I would hate to have people start hearing noise with loading of on pallets or however, that kind of thing. So is it possible to definitely confine the vans to be loaded inside? Would that hinder your operations?
Yeah, absolutely. They should all be loaded within the building. That was our that's why we were so attracted to this building, is because we can then do it inside, but it's actually not pallets that we're loading. We're taking the individual share bags and adding maybe like some cheeses or cured meats individually into the share bag, and then putting that share bag into the van and stacking them in the back of the van. So it's not unloading and loading of pallets into the building.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of, are you doing this on little trolleys or whatever it is? So I know I've gone up to the post office regional center here on the other side of Route 8, and that's quite noisy because they have big metal containers that they're moving in and out, and I'm just concerned about noise traveling in the middle of the night. So that's about all I had. Other commissioners have any comments, questions, or concerns for the applicant?
Yeah, Commissioner Kelly, are you going to have freezers inside?
Yep, we do plan on moving in. We use cargo containers for our freezers, and they have condensers on the back. So we have a 40-foot cargo container in the building that we're currently in Stamford that we would move into this building.
Okay, and then actually everything is, you said everything is processed and brought in frozen, and it's just a distribution from here. Am I correct?
Yes.
So are you planning on using the whole building or?
So we hope to have maybe 1 or 2 additional containers eventually, but when we first move, we don't plan on expanding our volume immediately. So we should be able to operate out of that single 40-foot container.
Okay, all right. That's all I have, Commissioner.
Okay, there was
What is
a um, a layout submitted that's online that talks about, shows the footprint for 4 20-foot container, 2 of them are container freeze, 3 of them are, yeah, they're all container, 3 are container freezer, 1 is container refrigerator. But that's in the future.
Yeah, that would be like the maximum we would fit in that building.
Right, okay.
What is
Okay,
the source of energy for those compressors running to
Just electric.
electric?
Mhm.
So they're
Mhm.
quiet?
Yeah, they're actually quite quiet.
Mhm. Okay, anybody else?
So this is really a warehouse and distribution center,
Right.
similar to Amazon,
Mhm.
correct? Except that you're packing meat and cheese
Yeah.
and produce.
Yeah.
Well, not produce, but
Yeah, there'll be the shares go there almost fully, completely packed. There's that minimal addition of the refrigerated products. And then it goes directly to the member from that building.
Mhm.
so you said you have 7 delivery vans, but you cover a very wide territory. So how do you
We-
manage to do that all in a day?
We do. We drive as far as up to 2 hours to our first delivery stop. So we have some days that the entire team is up to 2 hours away doing deliveries. And on those days, they might only be doing 20 deliveries from each van versus when, they're in Stamford and they might have up to 80 stops per van.
Your members probably get delivery once a month.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
why you can cover such a big territory.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. You're not going back to the same place day after day.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. So, okay.
It's kind
And
of
so
like,
this is not zoned for that type of operation, right? So this application is for a zone change?
Special exception.
Exception.
So it falls under one of the new lines that we added. I don't have it right in front of me, but it was one of the distribution facility lines that were added in.
See if I have it here.
What time do these vans take off in the morning for
between
deliveries?
5 and 6.
Okay, I have 42D is wholesale business and supply facilities, specifically excluding wholesale club retailers and other primarily public-oriented dependent businesses. And I'm assuming this is the IA-1 zone because that's where an LIP or it's OPD and RBD and RFD. Those are all ones that are allowed by special exception.
This is OPD, isn't it?
Office Park District?
LIP, isn't it?
I don't think it's
Let me
LIP.
get it.
LIP.
Let me see.
What's that?
That's what the application said, LIP zone.
Right, it should be an LIP.
Yeah, I wrote when I called to check on that address, it was LIP.
Right. That's correct. Okay, any other questions for the applicant? Okay, hearing none. How does the commission wish to proceed on this particular application?
I guess
Okay.
I just have one other question. This is a very large facility. You said like 10 times what you currently have. So you're going to start off with these 7 vans. What do you envision the future with all this space? What amount of deliveries would you be making? What's your ultimate goal?
So the areas we actually would be able to pick up, like new zip codes, are nowhere near as dense as New York or something like that. Would be Western Connecticut. So the growth in membership we would expect would be maybe 10% more. So the fleet and the team probably wouldn't get any bigger than maybe 12 vans for the year-round part of the team, and then up to 15 seasonally. That means our crew would be, let's see, about 15 people max.
So 12 year round, but during peak seasons, 15.
Mhm.
With
And all
15
these vans are parked inside, which is what the space is attractive to you for.
We could park the vans inside, but there's actually also gated, locked parking already on the property, which is where the previous tenant was keeping their vehicles. So we have both options. I think we only would park them inside overnight if there's bad weather, because the way we load them, because we're loading them one at a time, we would probably keep them parked outside if it was not snowing.
And then bring them inside to load them.
Correct. Yep.
Do you have some security system planned?
Yeah, we would probably replicate what we have now, which is security cameras, and then we have an access pass for the doors so that only the employees can get into the building.
Okay. Okay, I do, seeing that this is public hearing, we do have to open it up to the public before we move forward with the commissioners, unless anybody else has a question for the applicant. So if there's any members of the public that would like to, starting with elected officials, City of Shelton, if you'd like to comment on this particular application, please use Zoom's raise your hand feature or dial *9 on your phone to be identified. Mr. Rossetti, has anybody indicated they'd like to address the commission?
There is not.
Okay. Are you just doing it by phone? There you are. Okay. All right. And if there's any members of the public participating remotely who would like to comment on this application, please use Zoom's raise your hand feature or dial *9 on your phone to be identified. Anyone there, Alex?
No.
No. Okay. All right. So how does the commission wish to proceed with this application? Is there a motion to continue or close the public hearing?
Motion to close the public hearing.
I second that.
Okay,
Has Tony Panico weighed in on this?
I have not heard from him.
Oh,
Mr. Rossetti, Mr. Panico.
it's an existing building, right?
Right. Yeah. Mr. Rossetti, have you had a chance to go over this with Mr. Panico at all?
No, we didn't think it was necessary. It's a pretty straightforward application. They're not expanding any of the exterior facilities. There's actually already you guys talked about parking in vans quite a bit. The previous tenant had a significant amount of outside vehicle storage in a gated area in the back. So there is nothing that staff was concerned about, really.
Thank you.
And I can show you on Google Maps if you want.
No, I'm very familiar with the site.
Yeah.
Me too.
I've been up there. Okay. So was that Commissioner Motto making the motion and Commissioner Kelly seconding?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. And that was a motion to close. So on the motion to close made by Commissioner Kelly, seconded by Commissioner Motto made the motion, seconded by Commissioner Kelly. I'll do a roll call. Commissioner Laskos?
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins?
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Tiki?
Aye.
Commissioner Motto?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion is passed 6-0. Does the commission feel that it's required that a formal resolution be prepared for this particular application? What is everyone's consensus on this particular application? Positive, negative?
Commissioner Tickey, it feels very routine, even though it triggered a public hearing. It's, as it was said, it's an existing building. It seems, fairly routine. I'd be fine with staff working it out or us deciding on it tonight if that's possible.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree also. This could be covered with the motion.
Kind of a cookie cutter deal.
Okay, Commissioner Motto, do you have any preference?
Well, we'll never remember it any better some other time than we do right now, so.
Commissioner Parkins, how about yourself?
I'm fine with that. This one actually was live and it has been recorded, so.
Oh yeah, we are on. Okay. All right, see, the consensus of the commission is to move forward on this. Is there anyone that would like to make a motion to approve the special exception for under line 42D in an LIP zone for Walden Local Meat, 7 Progress Drive.
Commissioner Kelly, I'll approve it.
Okay, you're making a motion to approve?
I am making a motion, right, to
Okay.
approve it.
All
This is
right.
Commissioner
and-
Laskos, I'll second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Laskos. Okay, so on the motion made by Commissioner Kelly, seconded by Commissioner Laskos to approve the application number 2327 Walden Local Meat, 7 Progress Drive, for a special exception under 42D and LIP zone for a wholesale business and supply facility. I'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Tiki,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Laskos,
Aye.
Commissioner Amato,
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins.
I just want to ask staff one question. If there's any change in their operation, such as they're going to start packaging there, et cetera, they'd have to come back in to add that as a use, correct?
Correct.
Sure. I mean,
Okay.
if it's an accessory of a very mild nature, then it would be covered. But if it's something that really changes the character of the use on
Of the
property,
operation. Okay, then aye.
Okay. Yeah, I would just point out that we need to clarify what's a mild change in a use. So I think that was something that definitely I would appreciate it being run by us as a FYI before anything happens after that. And so the chair will vote aye as well. So motion to approve has passed by a vote of 6-0. And applicant can be in touch with the staff for the next steps. By the way, if there's any signage that you plan to do out by the street, that comes before the commission. And I would advise that you do not enter into any contract or have anything manufactured before you get that approval. Okay?
Absolutely. We were on the last meeting. We saw someone apply for signage, so we've learned that lesson.
Yeah. I hate to have you learn it the hard way.
Yeah, no, we learned through somebody else.
That's right. Okay.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Yep,
Good luck.
good luck.
Welcome to
Thank you.
Shelton.
Thank you. We're so
By
excited.
the way, when do you think you'll have your operation up and running?
Oh, we're hoping mid-February, but
Ah.
it really is determined by how we can move that container.
Okay. Very good. Well, we have what's the businesses that do the heavy lifting?
Crane.
Oh, the cranes. Yeah.
APIC,
Triggers and all
APIC
that.
crane.
Yeah. Yeah, we have those in Shelton.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, good night.
Good night.
Good night.
All right, next agenda item is proposal of the Shelton Planning and Zoning Commission to include native plant descriptions, invasive species descriptions, site planning requirements, and minor text edits to landscaping and site plan standards to encourage the restoration and or preservation of unkempt areas with native species in the Shelton Planning and Zoning regulations. On the city's website are 2 documents. The first are comments on this topic by our administrator and Teresa Gallagher, the city's natural resource manager. Second is a memo from Mr. Rossetti, which lists the specific changes to our regulations. Before we go on, Mr. Rossetti, any reports, materials, or correspondence received within the time period for this application but not yet posted to the city's website that we need to acknowledge for the record?
no.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Rossetti, would you begin with a review of the documents that I mentioned that are on the city's website?
Happy to. Okay, as you are all aware, Commissioner Mono kind of spearheaded the brain trust here to get us going on requirements for native plants and encouraging us to think more about our local ecology and how we can help support biodiversity in this area. And when we're approving these commercial projects, that's the one time that we really do have a say as to what gets planted and how. And so we'd like to take our best effort at putting in plants that are native to the region. One of the comments that I received from Elaine and from Teresa and others who are better experts in the field than I was that there are varying environmental conditions throughout town. some plants are forced to live in areas that are susceptible to road salt, others on ledge, others in swamps, others in sandier soils or muckier, muddier soils, depends on the types of drainage. So, you know, various varieties are better suited to varying conditions. And so the comments that I received from Elaine and Ginny and Teresa were, don't put such tight restrictions on it that we can't, excuse me for 1 second. Was to put such tight restrictions on it that applicants can't move forward. So with that, we have prepared some regulation proposals and definitions for what native plants should be or could be and what invasive plants are. The goal here is to encourage native plants within the region, basically ranging kind of from Pennsylvania up to Maine. I guess there are purists who would say that native plants should just be from Connecticut. That was not the attitude that I received, the commentary that I received, that's the direction we wanted to go. Additionally, we want to exclude invasive plants and have those removed from site plans and applications that we are hearing. So those have been outlined in section 5. As we move down, this is going to tie into something else that you're going to hear more about from us moving forward, which is low impact design, the acronym LID, which focuses on how sites are planned to be developed, including reducing pervious color coverage, focusing on rain gardens and passive solar design and passive rain collection. So rather than trying to engineer systems for everything, just kind of let nature do its course. It's very much it seems like a simple basic concept, and it really is. But these are things that are kind of coming to the forefront of design and civil engineering practice, and I thought this would be an appropriate time to include this definition of what low impact design is. It's not incorporated into any specific language yet as to where it should and will be applied. We just wanted to introduce this definition to the commission now so that as we move forward, we can incorporate it into pertinent sections, likely in sections 31, the site plans. At some point, you know, and I'm going to be working with the city engineer and wetlands officer to figure out how we should incorporate low impact design measures into site plans, into subdivision regulations, because there's a lot of work that has to be done there. However, for the purposes of tonight, we just are strictly talking about the native plants. So we went through the entire book, and we tweaked a few changes throughout it.
Can
so,
I
yep.
comment as we go along? Yeah, so right off the bat here, this 31.5.3, and I think that was my suggestion, not to require evergreens, but the way it reads now, it's just saying 50% of the plants should be native species. Do you see what I'm saying?
Correct.
Yeah, so it
Or
should,
appropriate.
it should be, you just take out the 50%. It should be appropriate native species, period.
Okay.
Got it?
Okay, I will make that correction.
Thank you.
My notes, yep. Remove 50% measure.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep, got it.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
I didn't catch that.
That's why you got a team.
That's right.
Okay. Proceed.
Okay. A little further down, same comment to remove the requirement of an evergreen tree and ask for a native tree. in a way, it kind of opens up the door for various planting species. Not that it cannot be an evergreen, it certainly can be, but allowing for greater variety. Down in section 33, in the site plans area, again, requesting that native trees and or shrubs be included. One of the goals here was also to reduce the amount of eventual goals will be to reduce the amount of lawn space that would not necessarily be required, but just trying to promote additional or a greater variety of ground covers and shrubs versus just lawn space, which is quite frequently covered with fertilizers, etc., heavily water intensive, and doesn't do much for local ecology. I'll let Elaine speak to that if she'd like.
No, you covered that very well. Thank you. Yeah, but I'm glad you brought that into the discussion more specifically than I had been thinking about.
So again, these are pretty small changes. So landscaping and screening, taking out other plantings and just making it native plantings, setbacks in natural areas. As we interact with plans that involve significant amounts of clearing and grading, we always ask that the setback areas from the abutting properties remain in as much of a natural state as possible. However, as Elaine and others have commented, quite frequently those areas are infestated with invasive species. So it's kind of a trade-off of leaving the area alone and kind of undisturbed versus being proactive and removing those invasive plants and perhaps planting native species. So that's something the commission can continue to engage with as applications come in. So that's why in this section here, we said at least 70% of the required setback area shall be preserved in the natural state or a landscaped area, which would include species of a native variety as we have defined here. And so just to clarify, section 33, this is all about special exceptions. Section 31 was all about site plans, and section 34 is about planned development districts. I'm sure we're all familiar. And again, asking for developments to incorporate low impact design practices and include native plants. Starting with initial development plans, it needs to include a native planting list. Moving on to section 36, which is the central business district, asking for native plants.
Yeah, question on this
Yep.
section two. All right, so the second 36.8.3.3, second paragraph there. Where is this? Where does it say about the flowering trees? Oh, no, that's the first section. Flowering or other deciduous plants should be used for accent purposes only. That makes it sound like what would be allowed would be your Japanese cherries, which, I mean, there are plenty of native flowering trees. So I think that sentence should just go.
Okay.
You see what?
I'm all ears here.
Yeah. Yeah, you just say it should be native trees, period. They can use flowering native trees if they care to. But the way it's worded, somebody could say, well, that means, you know, I could use that Bradford pear there.
Remove.
Said, you know, flowering or other plants could be used for accent purposes only. So just leave it, I would just X that sentence out.
While you're there, take out the "of" before the red blocks there.
Yeah, primarily native. Right, it should be all native. I mean, it should be native.
Shall be.
Foundation board or other landscape planting shall be native tree varieties.
Varieties. Mhm.
About the primarily.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, Alex.
That's all I had there.
Okay. I'm just typing some notes up.
I assume this is just going to apply to new developments, correct?
That's correct. Yep.
Mhm.
Oops, sorry about that. Central Business District, we just talked about this section. Street P shall be of nursery grown, native trees as approved by the tree warden. Off-street parking and loading. Similar small substitutions and additions. I'm not sure if it was from Jenny or Elaine that had asked that washed gravel be removed as an appropriate ground cover. And again, of moving further down, just taking out the requirement of an evergreen and allowing a bit more variety with native plants. Removing the requirement that there be at least one deciduous tree in these areas. We updated the soil erosion control measures. The latest book is of 2002, just a simple tweak. And that proper S&E measures can reduce the spread of invasive species and promote native species growth. Again, just 2002 updates. Asking that there be native trees instead of just evergreens. Of course, evergreens can still be planted.
Just gives them more leeway.
Sure. And that's where we left off.
Yeah,
So
and you brought up before about the, existing sites, leaving them natural. That's going to be a judgment call, I think, as you had said, depending on how invaded they are, but mitigating an existing site to get rid of non-natives is a daunting task, and not something a lot of people would have the ability to do on a more than, on a one space, it's fine, but if you don't keep at it, it's just going to continue. So, yeah.
I had a question about 5.22 on page 2, where you talk about low impact design. Alex, did I hear you correctly? You mentioned something to the fact of letting nature take its course.
Okay.
What happened to Alex?
Yep, I'm right here. I'm just
You are.
pulling it back up. Okay, your question was,
When you were talking about 5.22, did you say something to the effect of let nature take its course?
perhaps. I mean, the goal of low impact design is rather than not over engineer, but rather than engineer for every different type of scenario, simplify engineering principles and let nature take its course. It sounds like something I probably would have just said.
Yeah, I could see what you're trying to achieve, but I'm not sure if that's enforceable, or the a definition of that would be different from one person to another. There's a better way of locking that in. So I think that whole section needs to be scrutinized a little bit.
Probably not something you can write for every situation, like
No,
where
you can't.
practices work and how would they work. Just the same with any kind of drainage plan, it has to be site specific.
Mhm.
So I would assume that applying these principles would again be site specific and part of the overall plan.
Mhm.
And they'd still have to, manage the water the same, according to the same standards.
Yeah, the water issue is my basic concern, as making sure that you're not damaging a adjacent property.
Right, so I don't think that would change.
Correct. That's really the whole, not the whole, that's one of the primary purposes of quote unquote low impact design is reducing stormwater management controls that municipalities have to engage with. So I know the city engineer and myself have both been to conferences about different stormwater treatment options that cities can utilize, but we both kind of speak the same language, and rather than trying to deal with the water further down the pipeline, both figuratively and literally, it's much simpler to design it from the get-go. When the rain hits the ground, when the snow starts to melt on site, the best solution is to engage with it right there. So rather than having a concrete slab, if you can accomplish the same goal, for example, of just providing a surface parking space with crushed stone, with a brick paver, with pervious asphalt, it makes sense to do it there than channeling that water, running it off into a catch basin or some other underground infiltration system. It's just more to manage, more to maintain, more cost. And so this section does have to be flexible. You know, for example, if a parking area, not that it would be, but if a parking area is on a steep slope, very steep slope, you probably wouldn't want to install gravel because it'd be more inclined to roll and pitch whenever there was runoff. However, an appropriate measure could be something like pervious asphalt or a brick paver that has cracks in it, and if it's filled properly with the right type of base, it still allows drainage to flow through it while maintaining stationary on that slope. So it's a dynamic thing. Again, we didn't specify certain types of materials, certain types of designs that we are demanding to see. We ask that
I think I could say something helpful here to say the standards for what comes off the property, how much water comes off and what condition it's in would remain the same, correct? I mean, it's just a matter of
the whole goal is not to have water run off the property, but to have water as if to reduce.
For the property would be the same in terms of runoff, not be lightening that requirement in any way.
Correct.
Excuse me, Commissioner Kelly, would that be you would have to look at every project in order to do this. I know what you're trying to say, but you do have to remember that with a larger area, if you don't put blacktop down or something like that, we do live in New England, so it does snow. So if you have gravel in an industrial or any place like that, or with pavers that frost would heave, it would be null and void at that point.
Not practical.
Yeah.
Yes and no. That's the common critique. Unfortunately, it's not totally true. There are a lot
look at your roads.
So that's what's kind of actually a problem is when materials aren't pervious, when they don't allow water to flow through, and water is going to seep into materials, right? It always does.
Well, that's why they heave.
Correct. Exactly. So if you design a material to allow water to flow through it, it decreases the chance of heaving because water can permeate, can drain back down into subsurface versus being trapped in the material.
That is correct. As long, like I said, it has to be on every project because the water table could be that high where it won't.
It's as previously brought up, it's very site specific.
Correct.
Just
the goal reviewed for that outcome, for the outcomes, as we do now.
Yeah, I think this section opens up a lot of discussion that this may not be the appropriate place for this. We were focusing on native plants and invasive plants.
Correct.
This, I think, is a whole different category, and and while I'm more than happy to amend our regulations towards this low impact design approach, I don't think it should be part of this particular document.
I think it's more fitting in the plan of conservation and development.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, I would. So, and the only other, that was the only place that I had a comment was about the let nature take its course. So,
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a very good point.
mhm.
I just think it kind of bogs down this particular subject of the
Mhm.
native plants.
Yep. Yeah.
I do too.
So, can I suggest then, would the commission be in favor of staff updating this particular draft and coming back to us with the comments that we've made? And then we could.
There are a couple.
So just to clarify, all I'm gonna do is remove the 50% requirement in 31.5.3. Remove the
okay.
second sentence of 36.8.3.2 and quote of in the first sentence. And then we'll remove the low impact design definition of section 5.
Okay,
Wasn't there another paragraph that you wanted to work on or besides that? I thought.
I've got those 3. If I'm missing something, then
Oh, that was it.
I wanted to, Mr. Rossetti, if you could go to 31.5.7, which was on the second page. Okay, right there in the middle, parking areas shall contain evenly distributed landscaped areas protected by solid curbing every 6 space. Where did you come up with the 6? How did
I
you-
didn't. That's existing. I didn't come up with this.
Oh, okay. All right, the next sentence, I think the sentence sort of doesn't make sense. Fences, walls, earth berms, and or closely planted. Something is gotta be taken out.
Shouldn't be there. It's just the word
B.
B should not be there. BE.
Or closely planted native trees. Okay, take out the BE.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. That's all I had. So if the commission is satisfied with moving ahead on this, is it the understanding of the commission that the LID section be removed for the time being and treated separately?
I would.
I'm fine with
Yeah,
that.
our next plan of conservation and development is due what, 2026, I believe?
It's coming up, yeah, faster than.
Yeah, they come up really fast.
Mhm.
3 years.
I just remember the years being 6s.
Oh, okay. All right. So is there anyone that wants to make a motion to the effect of approving the change to the zoning regulations as described in the December 6th report from Mr. Rossetti?
So,
with
Madam
the-
Chair, this
Yeah.
is a public item. I'm not sure if you want.
Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? I forgot. I didn't jump to the public portion.
Okay.
Thank you. I skipped right over my notes. All right, so is there anyone from the public, starting with elected officials of the city of Shelton that, or who are participating remotely that would like to comment on this particular agenda item? Please use Zoom's raise your hand feature or dial *9 on your phone to be identified. Anybody there, Mr. Rossetti? If
There
there's
is not.
any one who is not a public official who would like to comment on this item, please use Zoom's raise your hand feature or dial *9 on your phone to be identified. Okay. No one there again?
Nobody yet.
Okay. All right. It's, by the way, is Ms. Gallagher participating?
I do not see her participating. this
Okay, all right. But you said that you had some input from Ms. Gallagher from who's our the Natural Resource Manager, correct?
Yes, she
Okay.
provided comments, significant comments on both drafts.
Mm-hmm. Okay, is the commission comfortable then with proceeding on this
And
particular?
her comments were included in this draft that you're presenting to us, I assume, Alex?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so is there a motion to continue or close the public hearing?
I'd like to move to close this public hearing.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Motto, is there a second?
Commissioner Parkins will second.
Okay, on the motion to close, Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Laskos,
Aye.
Commissioner Motto,
Aye.
Commissioner Tiki,
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Motion to close public hearing has been approved by vote 6-0. Okay, so it's the consensus of the commission to act on this particular agenda item this evening, correct?
I believe so.
Okay, so is there a motion to approve the changes to the zoning regulations?
Can I make the motion?
Sure, remember the commission. So there's a commission, there's a motion to approve from Commissioner Motto. Is there a second?
I'll second it, Commissioner Kelly.
Okay, so in the motion to approve the changes to the zoning regulations from Commissioner Motto, seconded by Commissioner Kelly, as we noted on the slight changes to be made in the copy and the elimination of 5.22 section. I'll do a roll call. Commissioner Tiki,
Aye.
Commissioner Laskos,
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Motto,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Motion has passed by vote of 6-0.
Nice job.
I would like to thank everyone and really appreciate your interest and support in this endeavor.
Mhm.
And Alex, great job with everything you've prepared.
Very good. Okay, next item on the agenda is amendments to the Shelton Planning and Zoning Regulations to be in conformity with Connecticut Public Act 2314-142, which amended Connecticut General Statute sections 8-3J, 8-2, 8-2P, 19A to 87B, and 19A-80, which was effective October 1st, 2023. Those amendments would affect Schedule A, Line 6A and 6B, Sections 5.12 and 33.16, and they are required to allow group and family childcare homes as a permitted use in residential zones. Mr. Rossetti, any other materials received before the deadline to be read into the record?
No.
Okay, so on the city's website is the report that was prepared by Mr. Rossetti. Could you please review your report?
It's not the right one. So in the past cycle, the state has they have made a variety of changes, of which many of them will affect zoning commissions in towns throughout the state, some more than others. Fortunately, our regulations do not have to change too much in comparison to what I imagine others will have to change. But there are some updates that we do need to make to be in alignment with state law. And so just kind of start from the top, which is to adjust our definition of family, quote unquote, from a maximum of 6 unrelated persons to 8 unrelated persons. And there's been an opinion by the Supreme Court, the US Supreme Court, about this type of definition, and that it can be treated actually as discriminatory against different housing arrangements because we do not limit the size of related families. Therefore, why would we limit the size of unrelated families? So that can turn into a hour-long debate about housing and usage and all that kind of jazz, but that's the direction we've received from the state. So this would increase from 6 to 8. Additionally, the state has required that group daycare homes be treated as a permitted use in all residential, where all residential uses are permitted. So not just residential zones, but wherever residences are permitted as of right, so shall group daycare homes. So we would change our permitted use Schedule A to provide to be in alignment with that, which would be to allow group daycare homes as of right in those zones. Schedule B, this is our lot standards that talks about R1 zone, R2 zone, commercial zones, setbacks, etc. The state has said the minimum floor area requirements for a dwelling unit shall not be greater than what is provided for by building code and fire code. Building and fire code do not require the same amount of square footage that we are requiring per dwelling unit. Whether we agree or not, that's the sidebar conversation. The point here, I think, is the state is trying to allow for greater housing variety and let people choose if they want to live in a smaller unit or a bigger unit, and perhaps bring down the cost of new units. So this is something that will be pulled for all of the lot standards for the zones. Again, this special exception for 33 group daycare homes, this would have to be repealed because the state has mandated that they be permitted as of right everywhere that residential uses are permitted as of right. So this section would be repealed. And that's all I've got for you for now. There will be others in the future, but that's where we are.
Everything that you are showing that has to be repealed only applies to family daycare homes and group daycare homes.
Correct.
It does not apply to someone who wants to build a house on a half-acre lot. And it's just mom, a dad, and a couple of kids. That's
Well, group daycare homes, I don't remember the size. Perhaps Alex, are you still on Zoom? Do you remember
Yeah.
what the number of persons that are allowed in a group daycare home? I know we briefly chatted about it.
For children, it was 12.
Yeah.
right, but this is does not apply to the typical house where a family lives.
Correct.
Yeah. Because to operate as a family daycare home, don't they have to have a license?
They do, and this is where we have to put our horse blinders on a little bit. They have to obtain that state license. They have to be in conformance with the state requirements. The state has issued these laws that say we have to treat them the same as a single family house.
Mm-hmm.
So there's very little involvement that we will have with these moving forward.
Right. Okay, as part of this, the city was required to send a letter to the Office of Policy and Management in Hartford to notify them that at this time we are not in compliance because we just like other municipalities, but then by passing this, we will be able to confirm that we have changed our regulations and that we are now in compliance. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Rossetti?
This only applies to daycare, not
group
home,
and family
combined,
childcare
I guess.
homes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was passed June 15th, 2023, and it was signed June 26th, 2023 by Governor Lamont. But it was Public Act 23-142, an act concerning certain protections for group and family child care homes. So isn't there a family child care home in the next block by City Hall? We had approved it about maybe like 6-8 years ago. I think that's still there. And there are other ones in other parts of town. So, and it does say no zoning regulation shall treat any family child care home or group child care home located in a residence and licensed by the Office of Early Childhood in a manner different from single or multifamily dwellings. It's right there.
So it's not applicable to daycare centers. It's just daycare homes
Right.
where the child is actually residing 24/7.
Yep. Okay, any other questions for Mr. Rossetti?
So I thought this was also going to be the work that Alexandra has been doing in terms of bringing all changes for the past several years into one document. Is that what we're approving, or are we just approving this particular change?
Just this.
Okay.
That's later, I think.
That's a whole nother discussion. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
Yep. And one thing, if you guys have read the statutes that there's some of the recent legislature that has been passed that's not on this list, but just kind of an FYI. The state has changed the jurisdiction for DMV licenses from the Zoning Board of Appeals back to zoning enforcement officers. We have reviewed our regulations and there is nothing that we need to change at this time to accommodate that change in state law. So just FYI, that's
Good.
why that is not on our agendas, because there's nothing we need to change. It's just something that our zoning enforcement officer will be reviewing.
Good. All right, if there is any further comments from the commissioners, I'll open it to the public. Mr. Rossetti, anybody indicating they would like to comment? If there are any city officials that would like to comment on this agenda item, please use Zoom's raise your hand feature or dial *9 on your phone. If there are any city residents that would like to comment on this agenda item, please use Zoom's raise your hand feature or dial *9 on your phone.
Okay, nobody has raised their hand.
Okay. All right, so how would the commission wish to proceed with this application? Is there a motion to continue or close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second that.
Okay, so on the motion to close the public hearing, but from Commissioner Parkins, seconded by Commissioner Kelly, do a roll call. Commissioner Motto?
Aye.
Commissioner Ticky?
Aye.
Commissioner Lascos?
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Parkins?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Motion is passed 6-0. What's the consensus of the commission? Would you like to take action on this tonight?
Yes.
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 Might as well.
All right, so is there a motion to approve the changes to the regulations as contained in Mr. Rossetti's report?
I'll make the motion to accept the changes as written.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it, Commissioner Lascos.
Thank you. So the motion made by Commissioner Motto, seconded by Commissioner Lascos to approve the changes to the regulations as contained in Mr. Rossetti's report. I'll do a roll call. Commissioner Parkins?
Aye.
Commissioner Kelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Motto?
Aye.
Commissioner Ticky?
Aye.
Commissioner Lascos?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion is passed by a vote of 6-0. And our next agenda item is the public portion of the meeting. If there's any public official or member of the public who would like to comment on an item not on the agenda, please use Zoom's raise your hand feature or dial *9 on your phone. One more time, if there's any public official.
Mr. Harbison's raised his hand.
Okay, let me just finish my sentence. If there's any public official or member of the public who would like to comment on an item not on the agenda, please use Zoom's raise your hand feature or dial *9 on your phone. Okay, so Mr. Harbinson, please identify yourself for the record.
Thank you. Thomas Harbinson, 15 Soundcrest Drive, Connecticut. I just had 3 items regarding some comments that were made here. First, for Commissioner Parkin's benefit. Yes, the Plan of Conservation Development tended to be on the number 6, being 2006. It was actually 2017 that we last adopted. And the Connecticut General Statutes 8-23 says that you have to re-examine and update it at least once every 10 years. So there's nothing to prevent you from doing it next month if you wanted to. But the deadline by doing it is 10 years. And then for Chair Harger, mentioned that there was a group child home. Yes, it's on Prospect Drive near City Hall. It was started in 2007. And then regarding your policy for public participation in public hearings, if somebody moved to a neighborhood where an application had been applied for more than 16 months ago, and then they just discovered it as having moved to the neighborhood recently, I think it would be a benefit for them to be able to talk about the application when it's still in a public hearing manner. I know currently, and I understand totally why you don't want to go back and leave it open for comments and comments and comments. But we have some applications, one you heard tonight, that has been open for over a year. And if somebody moves into a neighborhood and wants to comment on something that's going to impact them, I think they should have the ability to do so, not just with information that was provided in the most recent public hearing segment. Thank you.
Yeah, I would just say that we do have that option of the comments can be submitted in writing, and we would definitely be able to acknowledge them for the record. So they do have that option as well. But I understand your point, Mr. Harbinson. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else, Mr. Rossetti, that's indicated they'd like to address the commission?
No.
Okay. Last item on the agenda is discussion of the commission action to approve the recodified version of the planning and zoning regulations to include all the amendments previously approved into one complete document. Mr. Rossetti, would you or Ms. Castro please comment on the work you've been doing on this item?
I'll let Alexandra carry it.
Excuse me. So we have taken all of the regulations that have been previously approved throughout the years and compiled it into one complete document. I'm pretty confident that I got everything minus what was just approved today, and that'll be added in. But this helps all of us and the public not have to look for a bunch of different pages all over the place. So on the regulations that were uploaded online, I put into red text what was changed, what was added in. So there were changes to the Section 5 definitions, the bulk standards in Section 23, the permitted uses in Section 24, the planned development district, Section 34, Section 35, which was the designed residential developments, Section 42 for off-street parking, Section 44 for signs, Section 45, which were the additional standards, and I've added in the reference page that includes the original PDD regulations.
I found it a little confusing, Alexandra, regarding things that were changed that you didn't provide a red line for. It was just the new. So I have an older book of our regulations, and so I was just trying to go through my book compared to the document that you've prepared, and it was a little difficult to determine what document date you were bringing in. Like, I'll give you an example, the planned development district rewrite of October 25th, 2006. Is that what you brought in? It looked like you just maybe cut and pasted. So it
Yes.
wasn't,
Yeah, there was no date. I'm sorry. I apologize for that. Let me just see if I can pull up the exact date.
because I also think it should be referenced. No, there should be reference to in the new document as to where they came from and when they were last revised or updated.
That would be very similar to how the Connecticut general statutes appear, that they always have something down below that talks about how that.
When it was last, yeah, what the copy's referring to. I mean, I don't want to put a lot more work on your plate, but
No,
you know,
it's okay. I'm pretty sure I have something in here that has dates, so it shouldn't be too hard. But
so
it
I don't
was
know
a
if you
lot.
cut and pasted. I hope you didn't retype a lot of this
No.
information.
A lot of it was cut and paste. I had a lot of help with IT trying to get scanned documents retyped and a lot of speak to text. I'm just trying to pull up.
Because I would be glad to help proofread, because there were a few things, there was extra letter put in somewhere. And so there were a few things that I'd certainly be glad to help proofread for you, but it'd be a lot easier for me if I had the original version that you were working from to bring in, or at least reference to it.
So I believe, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to find the original.
I definitely have an original on my hard drive. So if you want to take it from there, and any comments that we could show that would show what was changed, that could always be notated with a upper superscript, and then at the very end of the whole regulation, have as maybe as an addendum rather than have it in the body, because that would really be hard to be consistent.
And again, I'm not looking to make this overly complicated. I'm just, in order to be able to accurately review to make sure that we got the most current version in, it would be good to be able to reference that.
Right. So it sounds that we would not be able to go forward with this tonight. It may be better to take a step back and look at some kind of version, as Commissioner Parkins is suggesting, as Mr. Rossetti had shown on those two previous agenda items, so that we could see how it's changing. So how did that?
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to, we're so busy, we don't want to expend a lot of time doing something that still needs further work, right? So I'd rather work from, if Alexandra is able to incorporate those references, even if you want to incorporate it as a reference,
Yeah, so I can add that in. Are there any other comments so that I could make sure we can get that all up for you?
I just had a formatting thing in it, and I can certainly forward that information to you. That's all.
Okay.
So,
because there were amendments that were done, final draft 12/1/16 revised to 7/18/17. So I'm not sure if those were incorporated or referenced. And then I have the rewrite of the Plan Development District, section 34, and that was done in 2006, which was quite a while ago. So I assume that's the one you use, but maybe it's not.
That is the correct one. That I did just find for that one.
Okay.
What section was the cannabis ones that we had passed? Those had not been put in. I think I had sent an email a while back.
Yes, it was added in. I believe it changed.
Yeah, I thought it was in permitted uses, but I don't even see.
No, it's not in the permitted uses. I believe it was the additional standards, sorry.
Oh, schedule it from, no, not what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, I didn't get that far, to be honest with you.
I do
because
have, sorry, found the page. Cannabis was section 5.40. And that was last year's.
Section 5 is definitions.
That's where it was listed at. Let's see,
Huh.
or 45, sorry, 45.6.
Yeah,
5.40.
that makes more sense. Okay,
Excuse me,
and,
Madam Chair.
yep,
Is it possible to get a copy of that document sent to myself and Commissioner McGee
mhm.
to review?
This is currently uploaded on the city website under
on the
informal
website, yeah.
consideration.
Okay, I didn't find it.
Alexandra, it's on the city's website under what?
Informal consideration.
Oh, okay. All right.
I thought I saw a PDD update from 2018 in there. I was reading to prepare
Mhm.
my position on the site, on the city site.
You sure it's under informal consideration?
Yeah, I found it there.
Okay, all right. By the way, chapter 2 ends with section 20. Chapter 1 ends with section 5. Where is 6 through 20? And the same thing, are there 6 through 20? And then chapter 2 starts with section 21 into 24. Is there a 25 through 30?
That is how it is set up. That's the original how we're set up there.
You followed it like it was, okay.
Yep. Yeah, I didn't make any text edits. I didn't change anything else except for the font. And what was changed is so we're not rewriting anything. We're just putting it together.
Yeah, but it's possible when you're scanning a document, using the scan method or whatever, the search or whatever, however you do that it misinterprets, or especially speech to text, that it misinterprets spellings and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
But as far as the chapters, that is how they were set up.
Okay. Are there any commissioners besides Commissioner Parkins that'd be willing to go through the document in a work session or two to make sure, compare the old with the new?
I would be able to assist with that.
Okay.
Commissioner Castillo. The informal section is coming up with a bad link.
Okay.
If you go on the sidebar, we're working on it. Our city website got pushed live sooner than we had anticipated, so there are still some tweaks. But there's a sidebar and it shows informal consideration. It's in the light green.
Okay. All right. I'd be more than willing to help with that as well. So Commissioner Parkins, alternate Commissioner Cristiano, and myself can
Yeah, it's good. It's a good way to learn the regs.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, but that doesn't preclude any other commissioner at your leisure going through the codified version, recodified version. And if you come across anything, you have any questions, to please forward them to staff. So,
Yes, please review. I know a lot of you have been on, different timelines than everyone else, and you may remember something different. I've been working on this for almost a year now, so I feel confident that I caught everything, just some minor tweaks.
Yeah. Okay.
Appreciate your efforts on this.
It's not an easy project. So, okay, any other comments about this particular agenda item with the recodification? If not, seeing that there's no other items on the agenda, the chair is going to declare this evening's meeting over at 9:28 p.m. We'll see you all next Wednesday, the 20th, for our last meeting of the year. And then we'll move on. So have a good night, everybody.
Thanks. Good night, everyone.
Night.